the zombie emperor in American comics. Hey! Look who's back for more adventures. We love having you here to continue this story that keeps us all awake. Important note, all of this is pure fiction, so don't try any techniques you hear here in real life. Your neighbor might call the cops. This amazing novel and all its rights belong to the original author. We're just the ones giving it voice and drama. Are you enjoying the show? Prove it by subscribing to our YouTube channel and leaving that like that motivates us so much. And if you want VIP access to exclusive content, our Patreon is waiting with things you won't find anywhere else. Chapter 226 The Trajectory of Destiny? Wang Yunxiao finally understood. Fate hadn't ignored Jiang Chen. As the progenitor of zombies and the most powerful representative of the Pangu clan in the mortal realm, how could it possibly ignore him? In fact, Fate had always sought to eliminate Jiang Chen, but had never succeeded. Since ancient times, the Ma clan of the Dragon Exorcist clan, as well as other exorcist masters, had never given up on hunting Jiang Chen down. Whether it was during the Qin dynasty, when Qin Shi Huang's fateful transformation into a zombie led to Mao Linger's relentless pursuit of Jiang Chen, or during that turbulent era, when Madonna traveled to Hongxi village, sparking the plot of My Date with a Vampire, or even Ma Dingding and Jiang Chen's lifelong entanglement, their mutual acquaintance and love. Who could truly say if all of this was the product of fate's manipulation? But I still believe that a relationship is the most effective way to truly integrate into this world. Perhaps we could consider a different partner. The thought was terrifying, and Wang Yunxiao couldn't help but tentatively ask Jiang Chen. No need. Jiang Chen shook his head calmly, a strange glint in his eyes. Fate is extremely fickle. Although the Ma family carries destiny in their bloodline, they are also the least likely to believe in it, and will ultimately choose to defy fate, Jiang Chen said meaningfully. Then perhaps this drama club's rehearsal of Romeo and Juliet is a good opportunity, Wang Yunxiao said casually, not wanting to delve into Jiang Chen's implications. Of course, knowing the plot intimately, how could he not understand what Jiang Chen was saying? Oh? What do you want me to do? Jiang Chen asked, his interest palpable. You don't have to do anything. I'll find a way to make her notice you and take an interest in you, Wang Yunxiao said with a confident smile. Perhaps, I don't even need to take action myself. Fate will guide Ma Dingdan to approach Jiang Chen, Wang Yunxiao muttered to himself. Alright, I hope you won't disappoint me. Jiang Chen gave Wang Yunxiao another deep look, then turned and left. Watching Jiang Chen's receding figure, Wang Yunxiao's eyes flickered with a dark, incomprehensible glint, a rough plan already forming in his mind. For the next few days, Jiang Chen remained as usual, acting as if nothing had happened. His spare time was spent watching rehearsals at the drama club or lounging in the library. Wang Yunxiao didn't act rashly, but continued to observe patiently. However, this time, his target of observation was Ma Dingdang. Soon, Wang Yunxiao noticed that not only he and Jiang Chen were interested in Ma Dingdang, but she also seemed to be interested in them. However, Wang Yunxiao hadn't paid much attention to Ma Dingdan before, and couldn't tell if this interest was new or if it had been there for a long time. Regardless of the situation, Wang Yunxiao was certain of one thing: fate had truly targeted both Jiang Chen and him. He just wondered if he was just a passing foe. If not, he'd have to be even more cautious. With this certainty, Wang Yunxiao was even more unwilling to delay and decided to act immediately. He knew all too well how fate manipulated and toyed with people, and the thought of him potentially being its target was terrifying. However, just as Wang Yunxiao began looking for an opportunity to approach Ma Dingdang, he was surprised to see Ma Dingdang take the initiative and greet him. Hey! Wang Yunxiao, are you heading to the library again? I need to look up some information too, so why not join me? After school that day, Ma Dingdang didn't leave with her usual group of female classmates. Instead, she walked side by side with Wang Yunxiao towards the library. For the past 6 months, Wang Yunxiao had made a habit of frequenting the library, whether or not, to better observe Jiang Chen. Of course, it's my honor, Wang Yunxiao nodded with a smile. But at the same time, a sense of alarm rose within him. Who knew if this was another case of fate's manipulation? Well, he was already a bit on edge, even paranoid. I really don't understand why you and Jiang Zhanzu love spending so much time in the library, Ma Dingdang said, glancing at the thick volumes Wang Yunxiao held. That's because, for people like us who are withdrawn, only in the midst of a sea of books can we truly feel our own existence and value. Wang Yunxiao said with a feigned solemnity, and by the end, even he couldn't help but laugh. Wang Yunxiao, you're quite interesting. And you don't seem like a loner, Ma Dingding said with a sigh. Who knows? Perhaps beauty has a magical healing power that can cure autism, Wang Yunxiao said with a smile, winking at Ma Dingding seductively. Well, now I'm sure that not only are you not a loner, but you're also an experienced playboy, Ma Dingding scolded unhappily, not forgetting to give Wang Yunxiao a beautiful eye roll. By the way, the drama club should have a rehearsal today, why didn't you go? Wang Yunxiao also knew that too much is as bad as too little, so he changed the subject and asked. Yes, that's why I went to find some information. Lately, I always feel that I can't fit in the role well. Ma Dingding didn't mind talking about the difficulties she was facing, as if she was confiding in a good friend. Really? I remember you were the pillar of the drama club, and this kind of situation couldn't happen, Wang Yunxiao said in feigned surprise. Thank you for the compliment, Ma Dingding smiled sweetly. Just like that, although the two of them were only talking for the first time, they were like old friends who had known each other for a long time, and they had already arrived at the book section while chatting and laughing. Well, it's been a pleasure chatting with you. See you next time, Ma Dingding said with a generous smile, extending her delicate hand for a handshake with Wang Yunxiao before heading towards the bookshelf filled with drama books. Looks like I really don't need to create opportunities for them. Watching Ma Dingding leave with a smile, Wang Yunxiao spotted Jiang Chen standing beneath the bookshelf, a thick copy of Shakespeare in his hands, carefully flipping through it. Sure enough, Ma Dingding and Jiang Chen soon began chatting. It turned out that the copy of Shakespeare Jiang Chen was holding was indeed the only one left in the library, and it was precisely this copy that had been the purpose of her visit. Could this really be just a coincidence? Thank you, book friend 201909261507355513, for your guaranteed monthly ticket. Today's 3 updates are here. Please bookmark, recommend, and vote. Chapter 227 Romeo and Juliet. The plan went smoothly, so smoothly that Wang Yunxiao didn't even have to take any initiative. Everything unfolded naturally, just like the original plot. However, Jiang Chen was unaware of this, believing it was all Wang Yunxiao's fault. In the days that followed, Wang Yunxiao, Jiang Chen, and Ma Dingding would often come together, intentionally or unintentionally. Wang Yunxiao and Jiang Chen spent more and more time at the drama club, quietly watching Ma Dingding and his team rehearse Romeo and Juliet. At first, those around Ma Dingding didn't take it personally. Ma Dingding was naturally warm, cheerful, and generous, and she got along well with everyone. As they got to know each other, they discovered that Wang Yunxiao and Jiang Chen weren't as difficult to get along with as they'd imagined, and gradually accepted their presence. Of course, this was all thanks to Wang Yunxiao. Often, Jiang Chen acted rather aloof, except when he was around Ma Dingding, and it was Wang Yunxiao who intervened to keep the atmosphere from becoming awkward. But as time went on, seeing signs of something special emerging between Jiang Chen and Ma Dingding, some people, and quite a few, began to grow dissatisfied. It was unavoidable. Ma Dingding's reputation as the campus beauty was renowned throughout Hong Kong Island University, and she must have countless admirers, not to mention the drama club, which was so close to her. Among them, of course, the unfortunate Peter disliked Jiang Chen the most, constantly mocking him. Little did he know, he was already heading down a path of self-destruction. Jiang Chen clearly didn't take such minor characters seriously, often simply ignoring them. However, this was seen by others as a sign of good manners. Peter, on the other hand, was more like a clown. This only fueled Peter's resentment, and he even found inexplicable faults during rehearsals for the play Romeo and Juliet, asserting his claim to the leading man status. Little did he know, the more he acted, the more childish he seemed to Ma Dingding. Today was another rehearsal day for the drama club. Wang Yunxiao and Jiang Chen arrived early and quietly watched the performance unfold. Well, Wang Yunxiao was the only one watching quietly. Jiang Chen, perhaps too engrossed, was mumbling his lines to himself. I'd rather be seen by them than give up my love for you. I'd rather they end my life with hatred than give up my love in exchange for my own life, Jiang Chen recited and pondered. He truly couldn't understand the love story between Romeo and Juliet. No more rehearsal. No more rehearsal. Peter, on the stage, had clearly noticed Jiang Chen's situation and once again seized upon it, shouting in frustration while glaring at Jiang Chen angrily. His tone was clear, he was blaming Jiang Chen for interrupting him. "Peter, what's wrong with you again?" Ma Dingdang demanded. "Damn it. It's all that nonsense. He keeps interrupting me. How can I rehearse?" Peter complained loudly. "How has he affected us? Peter, can you please stop being so childish?" Ma Dingdang's tone intensified. She could tell he was using this as an excuse to vent his anger. "I'm childish? Fine, fine. Let's stop here for today. I have a party to attend, so I won't be joining you anymore." HMPH, Peter glared at Jiang Chen again and stormed off. "Are we still going?" the other drama club members asked quietly, looking at each other in bewilderment. "What's the point of continuing? The male lead is gone, so let's all go," someone else chimed in, arguing with them about the end of the show. Needless to say, this guy also had a problem with Jiang Chen and Ma Dingdang being so close. As another person left, the others began to leave one after another. "Dingdang, let's go too," one of the girls, who was close to Ma Dingdang, even invited him to join them before leaving. "You guys go ahead. I'll wait a little longer," Ma Dingdang smiled, declining her offer. "Then you better be careful. I heard that this place is not clean," the man warned Ma Dingdang again, and glanced at Wang Yunxiao and Jiang Chen, who also had no intention of leaving, and then stopped persuading him. "Well, it's enough to advise the most talented Taoist priest in the history of the Ma family, the exorcist dragon clan, to be careful of those lonely ghosts. It can only be said that Ma Dingdang is still very low-key at the University of Hong Kong Island." In a blink of an eye, all the members of the drama club left, and only Ma Dingdang, Jiang Chen and Wang Yunxiao were left in the huge auditorium. "Is it fun? You ruined a good rehearsal," Ma Dingdang glared at Jiang Chen in annoyance and pretended to complain. Wang Yunxiao could see clearly that Ma Dingdang was just joking because he was afraid that Jiang Chen would be embarrassed. It was a pity that with his understanding of Jiang Chen, Ma Dingdang's kindness might be in vain. Sorry. I was too engrossed in reading and was thinking about the meaning of the script." Sure enough, Jiang Chen did not understand what Ma Dingdang meant, and hurriedly apologized sincerely. Ma Dingdang was speechless for a while. She really couldn't understand why Jiang Chen, who seemed very smart at ordinary times, was so stupid sometimes. Why did the two of them die? Jiang Chen was still immersed in his own thoughts and asked again in confusion. "What did you say?" Ma Dingdang was slightly stunned and did not react for a while. "I mean, why did Romeo and Juliet die?" Jiang Chen thought Ma Dingdang did not hear clearly, and asked again. Wang Yunxiao, who was watching from the side, held his forehead with his hand, and was also really convinced by Jiang Chen. "Haven't you read Shakespeare's books? Their two families are enemies, so they can't love each other, so they have to." Ma Dingdang resisted the urge to roll his eyes, and patiently explained to Jiang Chen. "I understand what a feud is. But there's one thing I don't understand, why would they both die for love? Aren't people afraid of death?" Jiang Chen interrupted Ma Dingdang, once again earnestly emphasizing his genuine doubts. "Is it like the script says, that I'd rather they end my life with hatred than give up love in exchange for survival?" Then, as if fearing Ma Dingdang still didn't understand what he meant, Jiang Chen quoted a classic line from Romeo and Juliet. "That's about it." Ma Dingdang was a little stumped by the question, and could only answer. Honestly, she hadn't experienced that kind of unforgettable love, so how could she explain it to Jiang Chen? "That means, like me, you don't know what love is," Jiang Chen said with a hint of disappointment. Wang Yunxiao was truly impressed by Jiang Chen's words. He began to wonder if Jiang Chen was playing dumb. If so, Jiang Chen's move was truly brilliant. Please bookmark, recommend, and vote. Chapter 228, The Interrupted Luo Wensu. "I don't understand love, so what? You don't understand it either, do you? Do you want to give it a try?" Ma Dingdang rolled her eyes in anger, then her old fiery temper flared up, and she spoke provocatively. "Huh?" Jiang Chen froze in his tracks, unable to grasp what Ma Dingdang meant. "Hurry up," Wang Yunxiao, unable to bear it any longer, tugged on Jiang Chen, signaling him to get on stage. Jiang Chen hesitated briefly before standing up and striding towards the stage. He was already deeply interested in the rehearsal of Romeo and Juliet, and felt no embarrassment. "Let's begin." Ma Dingdang took a deep breath. At this point, she couldn't backtrack. Besides, deep down, she was also eager to try. "I'd rather they end my life with hatred than give up love in exchange for survival." Jiang Chen quickly got into the groove, performing with great emotion. Romeo, if they stop us from loving each other, I will follow them. Martin Deng also began to recite the lines, but he always felt that something was wrong, and he couldn't help but stop. Hey, it doesn't seem to be like this. The script says to look at each other affectionately. Then, please look at me affectionately, otherwise I can't get into the role. After thinking about it, Ma Dingdang prompted Jiang Chen. But, how to do it? Jiang Chen looked at Ma Dingdang with a little confusion. You can't even be affectionate? Okay, I get it, you haven't been in love yet. Have you ever had a crush on someone? Ma Dingdang was speechless for a while, but asked curiously. Secret love? Jiang Chen's doubts were even greater. Of course he knew what secret love meant, but it was only limited to the literal meaning. He didn't understand why Ma Dingdang suddenly brought up secret love again. It's just that someone's constantly popping up in your mind, and you're constantly wanting to secretly visit her, whether you have something to do or not. If you can't see her, you feel down and out, uncomfortable, Ma Dingdang said quietly, a subtle hint of something else in her eyes. Is this love? Can one-sided love still be considered love? Jiang Chen remained oblivious to all this, still lost in his thoughts about love and secret crushes. Of course. You know, if someone loves someone for a lifetime, that's considered true love, and it's the kind that lasts until death. Ma Dingdang's gaze grew increasingly hazy, as if you were already immersed in the situation. For a moment, both of them were lost in their own thoughts or emotions. Wang Yunxiao, watching from the audience, could clearly see that an inexplicable atmosphere was flowing between them. Hey, do you understand what I'm saying? After a long pause, Ma Dingdang was the first to come out of his own trance, tugging at Jiang Chen, who was still lost in his thoughts. I think I understand a little. How about this? I'll treat you as my secret crush, Jiang Chen said, coming back to his senses. But did he really understand? Give it a try, Ma Dingdang smiled, a sweet, beautiful smile. I'd rather they end my life with hatred than give up love in exchange for survival. Jiang Chen recited his lines again with great emotion, gazing at Ma Dingdang with as much affection as he could muster. It's better, but still a little bit short. Ma Dingdang frowned slightly, still not quite satisfied. Almost? Still missing what? Jiang Chen asked, puzzled. Why don't you close your eyes and try? Imagine we're in the Victorian era. You and I at a court ball, and it's just the two of us, Ma Dingdang whispered softly, trying to guide Jiang Chen into a dreamlike world. Jiang Chen cooperated, slowly closing his eyes, and he actually entered that dreamlike world. And wasn't it just him? Wasn't Ma Dingdang also caught up in the beautiful dream she had conjured? Tisk, it's true, even Wang Yunxiao in the audience couldn't help but recall the beautiful scenes of his time with the girls, and he really missed them. The two of them were completely immersed in their roles, and the subsequent rehearsals went smoothly. It really looked like Romeo and Juliet standing on the stage. However, considering the identities and positions of the two, isn't this the real-life version of Romeo and Juliet? What's the next line? I forgot, perhaps because he was too immersed in the plot, Jiang Chen actually forgot the words. Next is the dialogue. It's Luo kissing Zhu, Ma Dingdang prompted softly. Who is this person? Jiang Chen was slightly stunned. He didn't remember there was such a character in Romeo and Juliet. This is not a person, it's a parenthesis. It's Romeo kissing Juliet. Ma Dingdang's voice became lower and lower, and he slowly closed his eyes. If Jiang Chen still couldn't react, he wasn't just slow, he was truly foolish. He immediately and slowly kissed Ma Dingdang's trembling lips. At the same time, a strange emotion, unprecedented in his heart, surged. Hey, what are you doing? Suddenly, an untimely shout interrupted the two of them, ruining the charming atmosphere. Wang Yunxiao was also slightly startled. He had been so lost in his thoughts of the women that he hadn't noticed the unfortunate arrival of this unlucky person. Thump, thump, thump. Then, Peter rushed onto the stage, grabbed Ma Dingdang, and glared at Jiang Chen with a glare that seemed to spit fire. Sorry, I'm leaving now. Jiang Chen, startled awake, whispered an apology to Ma Dingdang, and turned to walk off stage. Ma Dingdang watched Jiang Chen's back with a complicated expression as he left the stage, her thoughts unclear, and she didn't respond. She just wondered if she was regretting the unfinished kiss. Or was he blaming Jiang Chen for not standing up for himself with Peter? Stop. I'm telling you, not everyone can be Romeo. Please take a good look at yourself in the mirror. The next moment, Peter stopped Jiang Chen again and began his outburst, truly going further and further down the road of courting death. Peter. How dare you talk like that? Ma Dingdan quickly stopped Peter. Jiang Chen gave Peter a blank look, still without saying anything, and left the auditorium without looking back. Ding dang, don't you want to rehearse a play? Let's do it now. Aren't you going to party? I came back specifically to rehearse with you. I didn't expect you to just find someone. Do I need your permission to rehearse with anyone I want? I'm the male lead in Romeo and Juliet. Wang Yunxiao also stood up and left, still hearing the distant conversation between Ma Dingdang and Peter. The corners of his mouth curled up slightly, a disdainful arc. He knew very well that this unlucky guy was really close to death, and Jiang Chen had never been a good person. Please collect, recommend, and vote for me. Chapter 229 Luo Wensu. I'd rather end my life with hatred than give up love in exchange for survival. In a corner outside the auditorium, Wang Yunxiao easily found Jiang Chen. He was still mumbling his lines, his eyes occasionally glancing towards the auditorium entrance. Jiang Chen's gaze was calm, as usual, almost innocent, but for some reason, a chill rose in Wang Yunxiao's heart. Wang Yunxiao didn't bother Jiang Chen, but simply sat quietly with him, watching the unfolding events. He knew Jiang Chen must have done something. Sure enough, not long after, Ma Dingdang hurried out of the auditorium, still wearing her Juliet costume. I am Juliet, and anyone who dares to challenge me must die. And not far in front of Ma Dingdang, a female ghost in the same bright red Juliet costume flickered in the air. However, apart from Ma Dingdang, Jiang Chen, and him, no one else could see her. I'd rather end my life in hatred than give up love in exchange for survival. Ignoring Ma Dingdang, who was gradually retreating after the ghost girl, Jiang Chen walked straight towards the auditorium, still mumbling his lines, his eyes calm and almost innocent. Poor guy, you could have messed with anyone else. Wang Yunxiao shrugged, silently following behind Jiang Chen, and leaned against the auditorium door to watch the show. On the stage, Peter, also dressed as Romeo, was self-consciously looking at himself in a floor-to-ceiling mirror. He looked quite handsome, though. What? Still want to be Romeo? But you don't have the chance anymore, Peter said sarcastically, catching sight of Jiang Chen behind him in the mirror. Jiang Chen remained silent, simply watching Peter. What are you looking at? Are you unconvinced? But it's no wonder, because you're not worthy of being Romeo. Even after I graduate, someone like you won't get your turn. Why do I really want to see you? I don't know why, but every time you're with Ma Dingdang, I feel so uncomfortable. I just want you to disappear. Jiang Chen finally spoke, asking the question that was on his mind. It's simple. It's called jealousy. Peter's words made him even more proud. No. There's nothing I should be jealous of about you. After a moment's thought, Jiang Chen shook his head slightly. He didn't think someone like Peter was anything to be jealous of. You really want to be with Ma Dingdang, but you can't because I'm here. If that's not jealousy, then what is? People are like that. They get jealous of what they can't have. But I'm telling you, unless you kill me, you'll never get another chance. While smugly enjoying himself, Peter also unscrupulously attacked Jiang Chen. In that case, then I'll make you disappear, Jiang Chen said calmly after a brief silence. What do you mean by that? Peter was startled, then looked at Jiang Chen with disdain. He didn't think Jiang Chen would dare to do anything to him. Do you like looking in the mirror? Jiang Chen asked again, his gaze at Peter calm, completely devoid of emotion. So what? For some reason, a chill rose in Peter's heart at being stared at like this, and he asked back with a hint of impatience. Then I'll just live in the mirror forever. With that, Jiang Chen raised his hand and ripped out Peter's soul. Ah, what have you done to me? No, Peter's soul screamed in terror, struggling desperately, but could only watch as Jiang Chen flung it into the mirror like a basketball shot. If you're going to do it to the best of your ability, Jiang Chen said calmly. With another raise of his hand, Peter's soulless body automatically floated up, suspended high on the stage beam. Then, Jiang Chen calmly walked out of the auditorium, as if he had just done something insignificant. Your suggestion is indeed a good one. Ma Dingdang is indeed the most suitable candidate. From Ma Dingdang, I've learned something about jealousy. Jiang Chen smiled contentedly as he passed Wang Yunxiao. As long as you're satisfied, Wang Yunxiao smiled as well, and they left side by side. When Ma Dingdang finished dealing with the female ghost and returned to the auditorium, he saw only Peter's body, hanging high from the stage beam. News of Peter's death spread throughout the University of Hong Kong that afternoon, causing quite a stir. After all, it was a murder. The police immediately intervened, but it was clear that their investigation would yield no results. For some time, a rumor had spread throughout the University of Hong Kong that Peter had been killed by a female ghost, a ghost who had once played Juliet and died for the same role as Romeo. Well, that's exactly what happened with the female ghost that Ma Dingdang vanquished. But the message certainly didn't come from Ma Dingdang, and who could possibly have such extraordinary powers? In fact, even Ma Dingdang, despite his doubts, believed that Peter was killed by the female ghost. Regardless, the impact of Peter's death only lasted that long. As time passed, no one paid any attention to the matter. Perhaps, it would only become an occasional topic of conversation among students at Island University of Hong Kong. However, the incident still had a significant impact on the drama club, as it was their leading actor who died. Who knew if the female ghost would find someone else? Thus, the drama club was temporarily at a standstill. Even if rehearsals resumed in the future, it was likely that it wouldn't be Romeo and Juliet for a long time. Although Ma Dingdang knew she had vanquished the female ghost, she couldn't tell anyone. However, this didn't dampen Zhang Chen's passion. His classmates would often find him tucked away in a corner of the campus, the script of Romeo and Juliet in hand, reciting his lines to himself. Soon, they discovered that Ma Dingdang had joined them, often spending time with Zhang Chen. Whenever this happened, Wang Yunxiao would consciously step away, no longer acting as a third wheel. Now, he was no longer needed to interfere between them. After school that day, in a secluded grove on campus, Zhang Chen and Ma Dingdang naturally met again, completely immersed in the plot in their respective roles. I swear, my love for you will not only last for millions of years, but forever. Will you truly not regret it? A loyal laboratory will never regret it. Am I dreaming? I don't know, but at that moment, I was truly. Me too. Luo kissed Zhu. Zhang Chen and Ma Dingdang kissed passionately. Thank you for your guaranteed monthly pass. Today's 3 updates are here. Please collect, recommend, and vote for me. If you are listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means it was downloaded and re-uploaded without effort. We warmly invite you to visit our channel, Fanfic World. There you will find the original version of this story and many other novels of various genres. We look forward to seeing you dive into a world of incredible novels. Chapter 230 Meeting Madonna Again. It seems like everything's going smoothly with Zhang Chen and Ma Dingdang. Perhaps I'll be able to leave this world soon. Wang Yunxiao was walking alone on the path leading away from Hong Kong Island University, feeling quite cheerful. The smoother things went between Zhang Chen and Ma Dingdang, the sooner Wang Yunxiao and Zhang Chen could reach their deal. He wouldn't have to worry constantly about what fate might come his way. How could he be unhappy? Suddenly, Wang Yunxiao's expression changed drastically, and a sense of crisis inexplicably surged within him. Without hesitation, he took a few steps and darted into the sparse woods nearby. Wang Yunxiao's figure darted through the grove at a rapid pace, but the sense of danger didn't subside, it only intensified. Finally, reaching a deserted, empty area, Wang Yunxiao stopped and turned with a burning gaze, looking behind him. He was ready to teleport away at any moment, or even enter a mysterious dimension. As for why Wang Yunxiao didn't just retreat, it was because he really wanted to see who was causing trouble for him. Zombie, you've come out to wreak havoc on the world again. Today, I will definitely put you to death. With a delicate shout, an ancient peach wood sword stabbed straight at Wang Yunxiao. Wang Yunxiao dodged sideways, swinging his arm to sweep past the attacker. The attacker was also unusually agile, easily dodging with a flip, but the peach wood sword didn't forget to slash at Wang Yunxiao. Wang Yunxiao wanted to test the power of the peach wood sword, so he stopped dodging and punched it. Speaking of which, since transforming into a zombie, he had never faced these exorcists head-on. Well, that time, being chased by Madonna to the point of having no way out was not considered a big deal. That was just a simple escape. Sizzle, sparks flew. This peach wood sword was indeed quite skilled, or more accurately, the one wielding it was quite skilled. The wooden blade could not only withstand Wang Yunxiao's full-strength blow, but when it struck his fist, a surge of immense, yet deeply repulsive, energy was transmitted. However, Wang Yunxiao was no longer the same small, fourth-generation zombie he once was. While this energy had a strong inhibitory effect on him, he wouldn't be so easily harmed. After deflecting the peach wood sword, he followed with a fierce punch. The person blocked with their sword, sparks flying again, but she merely stepped back 2 or 3 steps. Cough, cough, Cough. But then, the person began to cough rapidly, a sickly flush spreading across her cheeks. Old friend indeed. Madonna, long time no see. Wang Yunxiao's gaze froze for a moment, but upon recognizing her, he no longer held back. While Wang Yunxiao couldn't completely ignore Madonna now, it was difficult for her to do anything to him. Furthermore, judging by Madonna's current condition, she was already terminally ill. How much strength did she have left? But Wang Yunxiao didn't dare to be careless. Needless to say, fate must have been at work. Otherwise, Madonna wouldn't have discovered his zombie identity and suddenly come to him. Since arriving in this world, aside from attending Hong Kong Island University, he had largely remained secluded, acting with extreme caution. It's you? Madonna clearly recognized Wang Yunxiao. Her memory had always been excellent, especially for the Ma family's natural enemies, zombies. Yes, it's me. However, I'm no longer the same person I once was. On the contrary, you, Madonna, look very unwell now. Even your movements have slowed down. Wang Yunxiao looked at Madonna with a half-smile. Surprisingly, upon meeting Madonna, Wang Yunxiao felt none of the hatred and murderous intent he'd imagined, the kind of enmity he'd expect from an enemy. Instead, he felt unusually calm, even a sense of a changed person. HMPH. I've conquered you. Though Madonna was now in her twilight years and seriously ill, her fiery temper remained undiminished. She thrust her sword straight at Wang Yunxiao. Undeterred, Wang Yunxiao was about to meet the attack, but suddenly saw Madonna forming a hand seal with her left hand. He quickly dodged to the side. Bang! Almost as Wang Yunxiao dodged, a violent explosion erupted from his position, sending a massive yellow talisman covered in vermilion runes soaring into the sky. Madonna formed hand seals with her left hand, while her right hand wielded the peach wood sword repeatedly. Explosion after explosion, yellow talisman after yellow talisman, pursued Wang Yunxiao relentlessly, forcing him to dodge repeatedly. Wang Yunxiao looked utterly shambled, but it only appeared to be a sight. He was actually unharmed. Not good, but then, Wang Yunxiao suddenly realized that Madonna's series of attacks were purposeful, trapping him within a circle. However, by the time he tried to break free, it was too late. The way of heaven is infinite, all things return to their origins, the five elements of heaven and earth, yin and yang reverse, barriers become invisible, command a dragon god, accompanied by Madonna's delicate shout, the large yellow talisman, like a series of majestic dragons, swarmed towards Wang Yunxiao, completely blocking all his escape routes. Furthermore, Wang Yunxiao felt more clearly that the entire space he was in was sealed by an inexplicable force, completely preventing him from unleashing his special abilities. Damn it, Wang Yunxiao felt a chill in his heart. Despite his best efforts to dodge, he was ultimately unable to escape the tight entanglement and restraint of the yellow talisman. What chilled Wang Yunxiao even more was the simultaneous luminescence of the vermilion runes on the yellow talisman cloths, causing his inner strength to rapidly drain. Zombie, die! Seizing this opportunity, Madonna struck with unrelenting force. The blade of her peach wood sword flashed with thunderous blasts, piercing Wang Yunxiao's heart. Roar! Wang Yunxiao roared to the heavens, mobilizing all his strength, especially the special energy granted by the space gem. Finally, at the critical moment, he broke free from the restraints of the yellow talisman cloths. Bang! 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 The continuous explosion still caused Wang Yunxiao some trauma, but he managed to avoid his heart just in time. Puff! The peach wood sword pierced Wang Yunxiao's chest deeply, its shimmering thunderous power coursing through his body, colliding endlessly. Roar! Wang Yunxiao's roar intensified, and he punched Madonna in the shoulder, sending her flying. Zombie, don't even think about escaping. Blood trickled from the corners of Madonna's mouth, clearly injured, yet she still refused to let Wang Yunxiao go. However, Wang Yunxiao wouldn't give Madonna any chance. He broke free from the yellow talismans, breaking the special barrier as well, and vanished in a flash. Please bookmark, recommend, and vote. Chapter 231 The Means of Destiny. Damn fate. In Zheng Chen's residence, Wang Yunxiao was like a wounded beast, silently licking his wounds. The wound in Wang Yunxiao's chest, pierced by a bloody hole, was healing and regenerating at an incredibly slow pace, looking horrific. The thunderous force within him, which had previously restrained him, continued to surge, wreaking havoc, unable to be expelled from his body. Aside from the time he had just been transformed into a zombie and pursued by Madonna, leaving him with nowhere to escape. Wang Yunxiao had never suffered such severe injuries. Furthermore, both times were inflicted by Madonna. It was undeniable that the world held a deep malice towards him. Ultimately, Wang Yunxiao's strength was insufficient, and he had little power to resist fate. Wang Yunxiao simply could not believe that without the intervention of fate, Madonna, already near death and terminally ill, could possess such formidable power. Even if she were still in her prime, it was still uncertain whether she could seal the space. It was precisely because of this that Wang Yunxiao didn't even dare return to his own residence, especially given his current severe injuries. In reality, returning to the Marvel Universe and returning after his injuries had healed was the safest option for Wang Yunxiao. But where would he find Jiang Chen once he returned to this world? With his deal with Jiang Chen so close to being finalized, how could he willingly give up? Soon, Jiang Chen returned calmly, showing no surprise at Wang Yunxiao's arrival, or even his utterly miserable appearance. His eyes remained calm. Fate has intervened, and I've been exposed, Wang Yunxiao grinned, his dry lips refusing to conceal anything. He immediately recounted the entire story, including his suspicions. He carefully observed every expression on Jiang Chen's face, as if trying to discern a clue. Naturally, his attempt failed. Wang Yunxiao couldn't help but be cautious. Jiang Chen had just started dating modeling Deng, and things were probably going smoothly. This matter might also implicate him. If so, who could say how he would react? Honestly, Wang Yunxiao didn't really care whether they fell out or not, but if this meant his deal with Jiang Chen fell through, he certainly didn't want to see it happen. Thinking of this, Wang Yunxiao quickly pondered whether there were any solutions. Even if it meant completely displeasing Jiang Chen after the deal was done, he wouldn't hesitate. To Wang Yunxiao's surprise, Jiang Chen didn't react in any way, remaining as calm as ever. Wang Yunxiao opened his mouth, but the words on the tip of his tongue stayed. What? Are you feeling strange? I warned you long ago that if you didn't leave this world soon, fate would surely find you, an anomaly among zombies. Jiang Chen, however, misunderstood Wang Yunxiao's meaning and spoke calmly. No. I'm asking, don't you blame me at all? Although it wasn't my intention, revealing my identity could very well implicate you. After some thought, Wang Yunxiao decided to speak frankly about his doubts. At the very least, it would allow him to clarify Jiang Chen's true thoughts. From the day I was born, I've never left Fate's sight. Jiang Chen's answer was flat, as if he were discussing a trivial matter. But at the same time, it also demonstrated his immense self-confidence. From beginning to end, he had completely disregarded fate. Well, at this moment, even Wang Yunxiao had to admit. This was the demeanor of the zombie king Jiang Chen. Thinking about it, it was indeed as Jiang Chen had said. If fate hadn't always been watching over him, why did the descendants of the Ma clan, the exorcist dragon clan, always come to visit him every time he awoke from his slumber? Once or twice would be fine, but if it happened every time, it couldn't be described as a coincidence. But you and modeling Deng, Wang Yunxiao hesitated again. It doesn't matter. Ding Deng and I are bound to have no future. From her, I've learned what love is, and that's enough. Speaking of modeling Deng, Jiang Chen's face once again broke into a genuine smile, his eyes gleaming with undisguised tenderness. Wang Yunxiao saw clearly that this smile, this tenderness, wasn't just for modeling Deng, but more importantly, for the person most important to Jiang Chen, Nuwa. Don't worry, I'll keep my promise. However, that won't happen until your injuries are healed, or you won't be able to withstand my blood in essence. Jiang Chen seemed in a very good mood, even bringing up his deal with Wang Yunxiao. Thank you, Wang Yunxiao nodded gratefully. While it was just a deal, he knew the preciousness of zombie blood, especially since it was the blood of the zombie ancestor. It was at that moment that Wang Yunxiao truly realized that the blood and essence of the zombie king, Jiang Chen, was all he needed to break the shackles of his own zombie bloodline. It could only be the blood of the zombie king, Jiang Chen. Perhaps the blood of the Pangu clan would work, but it certainly wouldn't compare to the blood of the zombie ancestor. After all, it was the ancestor of all zombies. And so, Wang Yunxiao settled in with Jiang Chen for the time being. At the very least, he wouldn't go anywhere until his injuries were fully healed. Jiang Chen, however, didn't take the matter to heart at all, going to Hong Kong Island University every day as usual, unfazed by the possibility of his identity being exposed. And rightly so, with his strength, he truly wouldn't care. But whether it was because Madonna hadn't told Martin Dang that Wang Yunxiao was a zombie, or for some other reason, Ma Dingding and Jiang Chen continued to flirt passionately. Cases like Luo Wen's were becoming increasingly frequent. Furthermore, through Jiang Chen's account, Wang Yunxiao learned that the drama club had resumed rehearsals for Romeo and Juliet, with the official performance imminent. How long had it been since Peter's death? Wang Yunxiao refused to believe anything fishy. Needless to say, this was another act of fate. Wang Yunxiao was even more aware that everything was following the original plot path again. It wouldn't be long before Madonna, along with Ma Dingding, would find Jiang Chen. At that point, these two lovers would inevitably face opposing fates. Please bookmark, recommend, and vote. Chapter 232 Revealing the True Heart. What happened? That day, Jiang Chen returned with a noticeably off expression, prompting Wang Yunxiao to ask curiously. Dingding confessed her identity to me today. Jiang Chen frowned slightly. She's acting this way all of a sudden. It's likely because she's facing some mortal danger. And the only person who could possibly make the Ma family's greatest genius feel threatened is you, Zombie King Jiang Chen? Wang Yunxiao took over, his expression growing serious. This means Ma Dingding has discovered your whereabouts and is preparing to attack you, so she's naturally responsible. Wang Yunxiao continued his analysis. He paused, subtly glancing at Jiang Chen's expression. Jiang Chen remained silent, his brow furrowing ever deeper. Or perhaps she and Madonna already knew my zombie identity and naturally harbored suspicions about you, prompting a warning this way. Wang Yunxiao offered another possibility, one closer to the truth. Which one do you think it is? Jiang Chen asked expressionlessly. The second option, Wang Yunxiao answered without hesitation. Otherwise, he wouldn't have mentioned this possibility. Would that be purely to annoy Jiang Chen? Maybe. Jiang Chen didn't comment, and began to frown and ponder again. Wang Yunxiao said no more, waiting for Jiang Chen to make a decision. For a moment, the atmosphere in the room became oppressive. Neither of them said anything else until night fell. Here they come. They came so quickly. Suddenly, Jiang Chen turned his head and looked out the window, a flash of coldness in his eyes. This was the first time Wang Yunxiao had seen Jiang Chen show such a strong murderous intent since they met. Even if this murderous intent was not directed at him, it still made him feel cold with gratitude. Wang Yunxiao stood up and cautiously followed Jiang Chen's gaze to look out a window. Although Jiang Chen didn't say who had come, and he didn't notice anything, it really wasn't difficult to guess. Perhaps we should go greet them. Jiang Chen immediately regained his composure, a pure smile gracing his lips once again. He was truly moody, but it also revealed the complexity of his current emotions. This wasn't surprising. Two lovers who had been so close until today were suddenly facing each other. Anyone would be upset. Jiang Chen then casually grabbed a black hooded cloak, draped it around himself, and strode out. Wang Yunxiao hesitated briefly before following, donning a similar hooded cloak. It wasn't that he wanted to join in the fun, but who knew if fate would target him? It was safest to follow Jiang Chen. The night was dark and windy, and the two of them sped through the bustling streets, stopping only when they reached a deserted, desolate area. Moments later, Ma Dingding, clad in a black dragon armor, appeared before them, a gleaming exorcist's rod in his right hand. Admittedly, dressed as an exorcist, she looked truly heroic and charming. Unfortunately, Ma Dingding wasn't here for romantic pursuits, and she wasn't sure Jiang Chen's identity was right then. Upon seeing the two, Ma Dingding attacked without hesitation, her chosen target being Jiang Chen. It must be said that the Ma family's descendants are known for their fiery tempers. Seeing this, Wang Yunxiao quickly retreated, leaving the battlefield to this modern-day Romeo and Juliet. And it seemed so. In an instant, the exorcist's rod gleamed with a cold, murderous intent. Unfortunately, in close combat, Ma Dingding was no match for Jiang Chen. After just a few rounds, Jiang Chen grabbed her by the neck and lifted her into the air. After much hesitation, Jiang Chen couldn't bring himself to destroy her, especially since he was still targeting Ma Dingding, and he flung her away. Only then did Ma Dingding truly sense Jiang Chen's power, but she couldn't give up just yet. Since close combat wasn't working, she'd resort to Taoist magic. Dragon God's Decree, Heavenly Thunder Sword Technique, Exorcist of all evils. Ma Dingding swung her exorcist staff through the air, sending streams of golden lightning bolts hurtling towards Jiang Chen. With a flutter of his wide cloak, Jiang Chen blocked the powerful golden lightning bolts, as if the cloak he wore were some kind of divine armor. However, Whether Jiang Chen intended it or not, the golden lightning bolts rip off his hood, completely revealing his features to Ma Dingdang. Wang Yunxiao's suspicions arose because, despite the hood being knocked off, Jiang Chen remained unscathed by the golden lightning bolts. Was it intentional or something else? Upon seeing Jiang Chen's true form, Ma Dingdang subconsciously halted her attack, gazing at him in fascination. Even her exorcist staff drooped, growing weaker. Jiang Hanzu, the true ancestor of the zombies, also known as Jiang Chen, I'm such a fool. After an unknown amount of time, Ma Dingdang finally spoke bitterly. Why didn't you kill me immediately after you knew I was the heir of the Ma clan? Ma Dingdang's face immediately turned icy, and he asked coldly. I couldn't do it, Jiang Chen said softly, a complex expression flashing across his face. Then how did you bring yourself to do it just now? Ma Dingdang sneered. Because I can't die. I have to protect the woman I love most. A woman who has shared countless years with me. Jiang Chen's voice gradually deepened, and his eyes suddenly shone with a dazzling brilliance. What kind of unforgettable emotion must that be? Who is she? Seeing this, Ma Dingdang's expression shifted continuously, but she didn't throw a tantrum like a normal woman, asking questions like who do you think I am? Instead, she struggled to ask the woman's name. Nuwa. She is the first woman I ever saw in my life, Jiang Chen said slowly, without hiding anything. Nuwa, who created mankind? A hint of disbelief flashed across Ma Dingdang's eyes. She never thought that Jiang Chen was talking about the legendary mother of the earth. She might also be the one who destroyed mankind, Jiang Chen murmured softly. Is she the woman you love? No wonder you wanted to kill me just now. Ma Dingdang became more and more excited as she spoke. She didn't care about Jiang Chen's words that Nuwa might destroy the world. Today you said you were going to kill me, and at that moment I knew that I really fell in love with you. It was you who made me know what love is. Jiang Chen did not respond to Ma Dingdang's accusation, but just narrated it affectionately. Today's 3 updates are here. Please collect, recommend, and vote for me. Chapter 233 Destiny arrives. From that moment on, I understood that the feeling I had when I first laid eyes on Nuwa thousands of years ago was love. Ma Dingdang hadn't had time to be moved, but Jiang Chen's next words left her with a mixture of emotions. I just want to tell you, I've never lied to you, Jiang Chen said softly, a flicker of genuine apology crossing his face. You're a fast learner. You're fine, the problem is me. I'm such a fool. I taught you so much and never even charged you for it? And I was teaching a zombie, Ma Dingdang scoffed at herself, ready to turn and run. No matter how Jiang Chen explained, it still broke her heart. After all, this was her first love. Dingdang, Jiang Chen called out urgently. Perhaps he didn't love Ma Dingdang the most, but his feelings for her were undeniable. Don't come over here. I don't want you to see me crying, Ma Dingdang said, stopping without turning back. Tell me, what should I do? Jiang Chen asked, guilt-ridden after a brief silence. Can you please say it again? You truly love me, Ma Dingdang whispered. I swear to heaven, Jiang Chen nodded gently, speaking sincerely. No. If you want to swear, swear to yourself, but before Jiang Chen could finish, Ma Dingdang interrupted him. I swear, I truly loved you. Jiang Chen slowly walked up behind Ma Dingdang, his tone sincere and full of affection. You really won't regret it. Ma Dingdang suddenly turned and met Jiang Chen's gaze. True love never regrets. Jiang Chen remembered a line from Romeo and Juliet, which best expressed his feelings at the moment. Even if I have to go to the ends of the earth, I will pursue you at all costs, Ma Dingdang said. Unconsciously, she was lost in thought. Scenes from her previous rehearsal of Romeo and Juliet with Jiang Chen, especially the kiss between Romeo and Juliet, all flash back to her. It's as deep as the ocean. The more I give you, the more you possess. Jiang Chen was also completely absorbed, lost in the nostalgia of those beautiful days. Not only can it last for tens of millions of years, but forever and ever. There's a kind of human emotion called forgetting. Forgetting isn't just a feeling, it's an act, something we all want to do, but must do. Forget me, and then do what you like, okay? At that moment, that familiar feeling of tacit understanding flowed through the two of them once again, almost making them forget where and when they were. Even though their conversation had long since transcended the realm of Romeo and Juliet, Dingdang used the thunder suppression. At that moment, a stern rebuke jolted the two from their immersion. Madonna arrived just in time. In truth, Wang Yunxiao had already sensed Ma Dingdang's arrival and was about to step forward to stop her, but on second thought, he decided against it. Firstly, he was still somewhat reeling from the previous trauma. More importantly, even if he had stopped Madonna, the outcome would have remained unchanged. Could it be that Ma Dingdang would sit idly by and watch Madonna and him battle it out for their lives? Boom boom boom, Madonna, suppressing the agonizing pain within her, struck relentlessly. Violent explosions erupted, and giant yellow talismans, etched with vermilion runes, trapped Jiang Chen in a small area. What are you still standing there for? Are you trying to collect my body? Seeing Ma Dingdang still unresponsive, she couldn't help but shout angrily. Hearing this, Ma Dingdang finally took action, leaping to Madonna's side, silently preparing to summon the Ma family's guardian dragon. However, her eyes never left Jiang Chen. Jiang Chen, in turn, stared silently at Ma Dingdang, allowing the yellow talismans to entangle him tightly, pinning him to the spot. Besides, he and Madonna were old rivals, so if he wanted to evade them, it would be easy, especially with Madonna nearing exhaustion. However, Wang Yunxiao couldn't sit idly by any longer. He suddenly took 2 steps forward, standing beside Jiang Chen and shoulder to shoulder with him. He wasn't worried about Jiang Chen's life, but if he got hurt, and their deal was delayed, that wasn't what he wanted. In the original plot, although Ma Dingdang ultimately didn't attack Jiang Chen, leaving Madonna's efforts unsuccessful, who could say if his presence would cause any further misfortune? Approaching, soldiers, fighting, all, formation, lie, in front, Madonna and Ma Dingdang simultaneously formed hand seals. With their movements, a mighty pressure descended, and a bright yellow light illuminated the sky above them, illuminating them like daylight. Zuzi, Madonna shouted delicately, performing the final hand seal and pointing her hands directly at Jiang Chen and Wang Yunxiao. However, nothing happened, and the guardian dragon didn't appear. Furthermore, the pressure in the air and the bright yellow light in the sky completely vanished. It turned out that at the last moment, Ma Dingdang hesitated, just like in the original novel, and didn't make a move. I'm out of magic power, because I cried, Ma Dingdang said softly, his eyes never leaving Jiang Chen's questioning gaze. A curse afflicted the Ma clan, the exorcist dragons, forbidding their descendants from shedding a single tear for a man, or they would lose all their magic power. Bang, bang, bang. Jiang Chen easily broke free from the yellow talisman, gave Ma Dingdang another deep look, and quickly left the scene with Wang Yunxiao. They all knew this would likely be their last duel for a short while, and given Madonna's current condition, it was clear she couldn't strike again. Returning to Jiang Chen's residence, Wang Yunxiao and Jiang Chen stared at each other in silence. Here's your blood essence. Leave this world as soon as possible, Jiang Chen said suddenly after a long pause. Thank you, Wang Yunxiao nodded gratefully. Without further delay, Jiang Chen forced a drop of golden blood from his fingertips, piercing Wang Yunxiao's brow. Roar! Wang Yunxiao roared to the heavens, his voice resonating across the heavens. At this moment, many would surely be awakened from their slumber. Wang Yunxiao felt a surge of clarity and relief, as if an invisible shackle had been released, opening up a vast new world for him. However, before Wang Yunxiao could fully appreciate it, he sensed a deep, hidden malevolence rapidly approaching him. Fate. It was obvious that just as Wang Yunxiao broke free from the shackles of his zombie bloodline, fate finally took its toll. Thank you. We will definitely meet again. Wang Yunxiao only managed to utter these words before he was whisked away into a mysterious dimension. Please bookmark, recommend, and vote. Chapter 234 Bad News. Plop! Wang Yunxiao tumbled to the floor of his New York mansion's living room, his face so gloomy it looked like water dripping from it. Although Wang Yunxiao had already escaped into a mysterious dimension, escaping the world of my date with a vampire before fate truly struck, the mere impact of that incredibly strange and overwhelming pressure was enough to cause him considerable pain, a condition that still haunts him to this day. Damn, is this fate? Wang Yunxiao's eyes flickered with shock, fear, disbelief, and other negative emotions, but more so with resentment and anger. Just wait, until I successfully ascend to the Zombie King. How could Wang Yunxiao accept the consequences of suffering so repeatedly at the hands of fate, not even being worthy enough to challenge it? How could he not be furious? Now, under the influence of the Zombie King Jiang Chen's blood essence, Wang Yunxiao has completely broken free from the shackles of his zombie bloodline. Although he hasn't yet fully experienced the changes within his body, he is absolutely confident that he will successfully ascend to the Zombie King, and the time for that advancement isn't too far off. Then, It will be time for Wang Yunxiao to return to the world of My Date with a Vampire and redeem himself. How did you become like this? Are you okay? At that moment, Selena's concerned voice echoed in Wang Yunxiao's ears. She happened to be at home and immediately noticed Wang Yunxiao's return. She rushed over to see him in such a state of disarray. Of the women, Selena was the only one with the most free time. Ada Wong and Rain were in charge of the Umbrella Corporation. Selene and Elizabeth were in charge of the Hellfire Club. Emma and Clarice were also busy with their Mutant Eden project. And as the Black Panther god worshipped by Wakanda, Best remained in charge of Wakanda most of the time, although she didn't have to worry too much about management. Only Selena had nothing to worry about, and she mostly stayed at home, doing nothing. Well, this had more to do with her non-competitive personality. She simply didn't want to compete with the other women, lest it affect their relationships. It's just a little trouble, but it's nothing serious. Wang Yunxiao nodded, not wanting to say too much, so as not to worry Selena. I haven't seen you this messed up in a long time, and you say you're fine. Selena was incredulous and glared at Wang Yunxiao. Well, I did encounter a terrifying enemy on this trip, but as long as I don't actively travel to that world, nothing will happen. Wang Yunxiao spread his hands with a hint of resignation, recounting his journey to the world of My Date with a Vampire. Destiny? What a strange world. There's actually such a thing as destiny. Hearing this, Selena sighed. Do you think there's destiny in this world? Selena couldn't help but ask softly. Maybe, who knows? Wang Yunxiao shrugged, unconcerned. At least, in the original story, destiny doesn't exist. However, this doesn't mean that the Marvel Universe is safer than the world of My Date with a Vampire. On the contrary, as a multiverse, the Marvel Universe is vaster and more threatening, with countless beings far more powerful than destiny. Furthermore, as Wang Yunxiao's power grows and the forces under his command expand, Earth will eventually no longer be able to restrain him, and he will most likely have to face these powerful individuals. Alright. Let's not dwell on these disappointing things. You have no idea how much I've missed you all. Tell everyone to come back so we can have some fun. Wang Yunxiao then took the initiative to change the subject, his lips curling up slightly in a mischievous smile. Bad guy. Selena gave Wang Yunxiao a sidelong glance, clearly able to discern his thoughts. However, during the 6 months you've been away, there have been some unexpected events here. I thought it would be best if you could find out, but then, Selena's expression darkened again, as if a thought had occurred to her. What happened? Wang Yunxiao paused, then asked nervously. Don't worry, it's nothing to do with us, Selena realized, sensing that Wang Yunxiao might be misinterpreting the situation, and quickly offered him a reassuring word. Wang Yunxiao felt slightly relieved, and his mind raced back to the events of 1991 in the Marvel Universe. And it had to be something about him, otherwise Selena wouldn't have reacted like that. Could it be? Suddenly, Wang Yunxiao's eyes lit up, finally realizing something. Did something happen to Howard? But then, his gaze dimmed again, and he whispered. It was obvious. If there was a major event in the Marvel Universe in 1991 that connected to Wang Yunxiao, it had to be the assassination attempt on Howard and his wife by James Winter Soldier Barnes. James Barnes, now known as Bucky, was a member of the Howling Commandos during the final days of World War II. He was a close comrade of Wang Yunxiao and Captain America's Steve Rogers, and he also knew Howard. But after that accident, he was captured by a secret Soviet scientific organization. Brainwashed, he forgot his past and was transformed into their perfect Cold War assassin, the Winter Soldier. We sent our most elite secret agents to secretly protect Howard, but the Soviets sent more than just one Winter Soldier. Selena glanced at Wang Yunxiao with concern before detailing the entire story and the intelligence they had uncovered. It turned out that, thanks to Wang Yunxiao's presence, the Soviets, to ensure the success of Howard's assassination, had not only deployed Bucky the Winter Soldier but had also temporarily activated 4 other dormant Winter Soldiers to join the operation. While Umbrella Security's elite secret agents were capable, facing 5 Winter Soldiers simultaneously was clearly no match. After all, the Soviet-built Winter Soldier may have significant flaws and shouldn't be used for extended periods, becoming extremely unstable and completely uncontrollable. But in terms of sheer combat effectiveness, they're certainly no less capable than Steve, especially Bucky with his adamantium arms. As for why Wang Yunxiao didn't send stronger mutants to secretly protect the Howards, it's because he didn't want to expose his mutant connections too much. Furthermore, Wang Yunxiao was a bit too superstitious about the original plot, believing that sending those elite Secret Service personnel would be sufficient. Please bookmark, recommend, and vote. Chapter 235 Zombie Howard. Damn it. It's all my fault. Wang Yunxiao blamed himself for the murder of Howard and his wife. If he hadn't been so superstitious about the plot and had been more careful, this incident could have been avoided. Moreover, this was not the first time that the plot had shifted or even completely changed because of him. However, Wang Yunxiao hadn't considered that the murder of Howard and his wife was the development that truly conformed to the original plot, and that saving them was what he wanted to do to change the plot, and he should have been more prepared. Hey, can you listen to me first? Looking at the sad Wang Yunxiao, Selena knew that he had misunderstood again and said quickly. Could it be? Wang Yunxiao's eyes immediately burst into a glimmer of hope, and he looked at Selena without blinking. Yes, although the Howards suffered severe injuries, they're not dead. Maria, in particular, is now out of danger thanks to the timely treatment provided by Wakanda. Selena's words were exactly what Wang Yunxiao had been hoping to hear. What about Howard? Wang Yunxiao noticed that Selena hadn't mentioned Howard's condition, so he pressed on anxiously. He's not doing well, still in a deep coma, as expected. Selena's answer was another piece of bad news. Even with Wakanda's medical care, Howard couldn't be fully treated, so one could imagine how dire his condition must be. Let's go to Wakanda. Wang Yunxiao stood up abruptly and took Selena's hand. He didn't want to wait any longer. The next moment, the two of them were at Howard's bedside, in the medical laboratory that served as Wakanda's research center. They were all aware of Wang Yunxiao and Howard's relationship, so they naturally placed him there to provide close attention to prevent his condition from worsening. Howard lay peacefully on the pristine white hospital bed. To Wang Yunxiao's surprise, his rosy complexion made one think he was simply asleep. In reality, Wang Yunxiao was simply overthinking things. After all, Wakanda's medical care was world-class. While Howard's deep coma couldn't be revived, his injuries had largely healed. Maria quietly attended to Howard's bedside. Her pale face and the visible bloodshot in her eyes made her look utterly haggard. Wang, you're back, Maria said with a forced smile, noticing the arrival of Wang Yunxiao and the others. I'm so sorry, Maria, Wang Yunxiao said guiltily. Wang, please don't say that. If it weren't for your men secretly protecting us, we'd probably have been killed. It's us who should be thanking you, Maria said, shaking her head slightly and speaking seriously. I should have done better. Maria's words didn't ease Wang Yunxiao's guilt. You've done more for us. No one could have predicted something like this, could they? Maria interrupted, softly admonishing him. Wang Yunxiao's guilt grew even stronger, but he couldn't find a response. Was he going to tell Maria, I knew someone was planning to assassinate you, and that's why I sent someone to protect you? Seeing Wang Yunxiao's face still etched with guilt, Maria didn't try to persuade him further. On the one hand, she understood the relationship between Wang Yunxiao and her husband, and knew that no amount of persuasion would be of any use, so she waited for Wang Yunxiao to figure things out on her own. On the other hand, she was already exhausted and didn't have the energy to focus on anything else. After all, she was the one who needed comfort the most, wasn't she? Maria didn't even bother asking Wang Yunxiao if there was any way to save Howard. Over that time, she had witnessed firsthand how deeply concerned the women, Charles, and the others were about the couple's injuries. If they could truly save Howard, there would be no need to wait for Wang Yunxiao's return. However, Maria was mistaken. Wang Yunxiao actually had a way to save Howard, and it was a simple task for him. Simply transform Howard into a zombie. Maria, perhaps I can save Howard, but, after a long silence, Wang Yunxiao finally calmed down and began to talk about saving Howard. What did you say? Before Wang Yunxiao could finish, Maria suddenly stood up, staring at him intently, her eyes filled with hope. Maria, calm down and listen to me, Wang Yunxiao said, soothingly, seeing Maria, who was shaky even on her feet. Selena quickly stepped forward and helped Maria back to a sitting position. Do you really have a way to save Howard? Maria pressed on eagerly after they sat down. Hearing that Wang Yunxiao had a way to revive her husband, how could she calm down? Yes, but my method is a little unique, so I must get your permission first. Wang Yunxiao nodded lightly and spoke seriously. Turning Howard into a zombie was simple enough, but it required the consent of both Howard and his wife, Maria. For no other reason than that Howard was one of the few true friends Wang Yunxiao truly recognized in this world. I agree. As long as it means saving Howard, I agree, Maria interrupted Wang Yunxiao again, nodding without hesitation. Even if it means turning him into a monster in your eyes, Wang Yunxiao knew that in this situation, Maria would agree to anything he said, but he still stated this outcome directly, which many people might find most unacceptable. Of course, in the eyes of many, this might not be unacceptable, and might even be welcomed. After all, being transformed into a zombie not only grants great power but also eternal life. Even if it means selling your soul to the devil. Wang, you and Howard are best friends, I believe in you. Maria's answer was still without the slightest hesitation. Okay, I'll wake Howard up now. Seeing that Maria said so, Wang Yunxiao naturally no longer hesitated. He did not avoid Maria's presence and directly revealed his zombie fangs and emerald green pupils. He leaned over and bit Howard's neck. This scene really shocked Maria. Although she had thought that Wang Yunxiao's method of waking Howard up must be extraordinary, she never expected it to be like this. However, Maria was not an ordinary housewife after all. Being with Howard, she had already seen too many storms and waves, and she quickly regained her composure. Thank you Xing Ying for the guaranteed monthly ticket. Today's 3 updates are here. Please collect, recommend, and vote. Chapter 236 The Beating of Several Women. Roar, a delighted roar echoed throughout the research center and even beyond. Everyone in Wakanda instinctively turned their gazes towards the source of the sound. Huh? Howard's been transformed into a zombie? The boss has returned? Charles and the other 3, who were already in the research center, immediately realized what was happening. It wasn't hard to guess. While they could all awaken Howard Stark by transforming him into a zombie, no one dared to do so without Wang Yunxiao's consent. Immediately, the 4 men returned to their research. For these enthusiasts, nothing was more important than their research, unless Wang Yunxiao summoned them. Similarly, Emma, Clarice, and Best, who were in Wakanda, couldn't hide this from them. They immediately guessed Wang Yunxiao's return and quickly notified the women back in New York. Soon, the women gathered at the Wakanda Research Center, but they didn't bother Wang Yunxiao. They weren't upset that Wang Yunxiao hadn't informed them upon his return, but had instead visited Howard first. They all knew how much Wang Yunxiao valued his friendship with Howard. Dear, seeing Howard truly awake, even though he looked no longer human, Maria Stark didn't hesitate, throwing herself into his arms. Dear, I'm fine, don't worry. Howard didn't even bother to thank Wang Yunxiao, instead offering his comfort. Maria's haggard appearance deeply distressed him. Wang Yunxiao and Selena exchanged a smile, then quietly exited the lab, leaving the loving couple alone. Oh, dear, why are you all here? As soon as Wang Yunxiao left the lab, he saw the women gathered. A heartfelt smile spread across his face, and he quickly approached, hugging and kissing each of them. You jerk, you've been gone for over half a year. Don't you miss us sisters at all? Emma, though no longer the little girl she once was, still acted as infatuated as ever. How could that be? I've missed you all the time. Wang Yunxiao quickly straightened his stance, practically swearing to heaven. Who do you miss more? Selene suddenly interjected with a half-smile. Wang Yunxiao's body stiffened slightly, a wave of deep malice washing over him. He knew full well that Selene was retaliating against him by not fulfilling her promise to take her to the world of my date with a vampire. You know, I love you all equally, Wang Yunxiao said softly, his face sincere. He observed Selene's reaction as he spoke, and when she showed no signs of pursuing him, he breathed a sigh of relief. But he hadn't expected someone to be so unwilling to let him go so easily. Huh? That's strange. Why didn't you bring us another sister this time? Lane said, adding with deep meaning. This statement undoubtedly stirred a collective hatred among the women. Recalling Wang Yunxiao's past philandering ways, they all cast icy glances at him. For a moment, it felt as if the temperature around him had dropped a few degrees. After all, this was Africa, the closest to the equator. Wang Yunxiao's prepared confessions were choked back. He could only look at the women with a wry smile, hoping they would show mercy and let him go. Puff. Seeing Wang Yunxiao's pitiful expression, Ada Wang was the first to burst into laughter. Hey, the laughter seemed contagious, and the women all giggled. As long as you're happy, Wang Yunxiao only dared to think this complaint in his mind, but he dared not say it out loud. Although he knew the women were just using this as an excuse to discourage him from becoming more unfaithful, he had no other choice. As for the effect of their actions, well, that was a joke. Regarding his own philandering, Wang Yunxiao always apologized promptly upon admitting his mistake, but he refused to change afterward. Dear, you have no idea how dangerous this trip was. Seeing the women's demeanor soften, Wang Yunxiao dared not let his guard down any longer. While playing pitiful, he recounted everything he had encountered during his trip to the My Date with a Vampire world. Since he had already told Selena, he naturally wouldn't hide it from them. Wow, this is amazing. Fate actually exists in that world? I must go see it when I get the chance. Emma's reaction matched Selena's, marveling at the existence of fate. And not only her, but the other women's reactions were similar. Haven't you heard that destiny is incredibly powerful? Probably no weaker than the Supreme Mage? And yet you're still thinking of provoking him? Of course, there were some reasonable people among the women, like Ada Wang, who immediately glared at Emma. We'll grow stronger, too. One day, we won't be afraid of them anymore. When that happens, we'll naturally go and avenge Brother Yunxiao. Emma, unfazed, clenched her fists. That's right. We'll definitely grow stronger. Next time, we'll go to that world together and give Destiny a good fight. Selena wholeheartedly agreed with Emma's words. She'd witnessed how utterly devastated Wang Yunxiao was upon his return, and he'd long since resented Destiny. Don't worry, that time won't be too far off. While this time was dangerous, I've also gained a lot. I've completely broken the shackles of the zombie bloodline within me. Wang Yunxiao was even more confident. As long as he could successfully ascend to the Zombie King, he would no longer fear Destiny. Even the pressure from the Supreme Sorcerer Ancient One or the Phoenix Girl no longer seemed so pressing to Wang Yunxiao. Hearing this, the women all revealed a resolute look. They all knew that with Wang Yunxiao's successful promotion to Zombie King, their zombie bloodlines would also take another step forward, and their strength would naturally rise. Of course, there were exceptions, such as Selene and Selena. Their current strength had almost reached its ceiling, and even if they were promoted to second-generation zombies, their strength would not increase much. Unless they could be promoted to Zombie King like Wang Yunxiao, their strength would see another leap forward. But obviously, due to the bloodline restrictions, this was impossible. Even Wang Yunxiao didn't know if there was any possibility of further advancement after becoming Zombie King. If you are listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means it was downloaded and re-uploaded without effort. We warmly invite you to visit our channel, Fanfic World. There you will find the original version of this story and many other novels of various genres. We look forward to seeing you dive into a world of incredible novels. Chapter 237 Howard's Decision. That evening, a grand banquet was held at the Wakanda Palace to celebrate Wang Yunxiao's return, resolve the zombie bloodline that had plagued him for so long, and welcome Howard Stark to the palace. After 3 rounds of wine and 5 dishes, Wang Yunxiao and Howard retreated to a secluded corner, undisturbed. Thank you, Howard and Wang Yunxiao clinked their glasses and emptied their wine. As long as you don't blame me for turning you into a monster, Wang Yunxiao shrugged, jokingly downing his glass. Eternal life? This would allow me to achieve so much great research. Honestly, if I had known you had such a method, I wouldn't have waited until today, Howard said with exaggerated force. This was truly his sentiment at the moment. He didn't mind being transformed into a zombie at all. As long as you're satisfied. I'll help you advance to the 3rd generation of zombies later, and then you can transform Maria into a zombie, too. She's a good woman who truly loves you. Putting down his glass, Wang Yunxiao lit another slim cigar for him and Howard. Yes, having her is the greatest blessing of my life, Howard murmured softly, his eyes gleaming with tenderness. It's just that you and Maria will have to live here for a long time to come. Is that okay? After all, you and Maria are already dead in the eyes of those people. It's best not to show yourselves to the outside world for a while. After thinking it over, Wang Yunxiao decided to speak frankly. Given their relationship, there was nothing to be ashamed of. This was also for Howard's safety. Although he was now a zombie, it didn't mean he was truly immortal. So-called eternal life only existed without external factors. Of course, if Howard insisted on not staying here, Wang Yunxiao wouldn't force it. He also believed that Howard would not betray anything about Wakanda. Of course. We have state-of-the-art laboratories here, and so much scientific research material from other worlds, even alien technology. Even if you want to kick me out, I won't leave, Howard replied without hesitation. Clearly, this was a decision he had already made, a joint one between him and Maria. Just as Wang Yunxiao didn't want to force Howard's hand, he also didn't want to embarrass Wang Yunxiao. He knew full well that everything in Wakanda was Wang Yunxiao's biggest secret, a secret that could drive the entire world crazy. Do you want me to bring Tony over? Wang Yunxiao asked again. Forget it. He's a boy, after all. Let him go out and explore on his own. After all, the world out there is exciting, isn't it? Howard said with a smile, giving Wang Yunxiao a meaningful wink at the end. You idiot. But I've always said Tony would be a playboy just as good as you in the future, Wang Yunxiao laughed. That's right. Look whose son he is, huh? Howard chuckled complacently. Don't worry, I'll keep an eye on him. Wang Yunxiao patted Howard's arm and made a serious promise. It's a must, you're his godfather. Howard naturally believed Wang Yunxiao's promise. In fact, Howard seemed to be so open-minded, but he was Tony Stark's father after all, and what father didn't want to accompany his child as he grew up? Okay, enough of that. What do you think I should research next? How about weapons? Or new energy sources? Spaceships seem interesting too. Damn. There are so many things to research. Or maybe, is there anything you need help from a super genius like me? Howard immediately changed the subject and discussed the research topic that interested him most with Wang Yunxiao. You know what, I really have something that might require your super brain, Wang Yunxiao said, something he had already thought of. What is it? Hearing this, Howard's curiosity was also piqued. He knew full well that Arnim was a super scientist on par with him, and that Charles and the other two, recognized by him, were likely no less capable. The Cosmic Cube. I need your help. Wang Yunxiao wanted Howard to research how to remove the Space Stone from the Cosmic Cube without damaging it, while also preserving its special energy. This was his most important task at the moment. What? How did you get this thing? Howard muttered. He certainly knew about the Cosmic Cube and had even studied it in depth. Whether it was reactor technology or the future he envisioned for Tony, it was all inspired and referenced by the Cosmic Cube. When the military forcibly seized the Cosmic Cube from SHIELD, it had left Howard furious for a long time. He had repeatedly demanded the return of the Cosmic Cube, but they had always offered excuses. There's still so much you don't know, Wang Yunxiao chuckled smugly, immediately revealing to Howard all the secrets surrounding the Cosmic Cube, the Space Stone, and his intended goal. I never imagined the Cosmic Cube had such a profound origin. It was forged from the essence of 6 singularities, born before the Big Bang, brimming with infinite energy. Howard's eyes blazed with passion. What's your current research status? Calming down a bit, Howard inquired about the progress. Wait a moment, Wang Yunxiao paused, quickly summoning Arnim and Lawson. He had just returned from the world of my date with a vampire, so how could he possibly know their progress? Have you reached any conclusions yet on the Cosmic Cube? Wang Yunxiao asked as Arnim and Lawson approached. I'm sorry, we've tried everything, but we still can't detect the existence of the Space Stone in the Cosmic Cube. The energy within the Cosmic Cube is truly infinite, and with our current technology, it's nearly impossible to detect the source of this energy. The two exchanged dry smiles, and finally, Arnim spoke up. Clearly, this wasn't the answer Wang Yunxiao had hoped to hear. He also knew, however, that they weren't to blame. How could the Space Stone be so easy to study? Not to mention them, even he hadn't gained anything the last time he absorbed space energy. 3 updates for today. Please bookmark, recommend, and vote. Chapter 238 The Problem of Promotion. What about other areas? What have you gained? Wang Yunxiao frowned slightly, unable to resist asking again. He didn't blame Arnim and Lawson, knowing how difficult it was. Although we've been able to extract the energy from the Cosmic Cube, the speed is faster and the storage capacity is larger, but it's still far from what you expected. Arnim's answer still left Wang Yunxiao unsatisfied. After all, he'd already been able to do this as early as World War II. Alright, you guys continue this research. Howard will join you. Forget about the Space Stone for now, I'll find a solution. After some thought, Wang Yunxiao could only let them continue their energy extraction research. He knew this couldn't be forced. As for retrieving the Space Stone, according to Arnim, they really couldn't be relied upon anytime soon, so he decided not to distract them with that. Furthermore, Wang Yunxiao believed that with his advancement to Zombie King, he would have a good chance of achieving this goal. Frankly, Wang Yunxiao wasn't entirely sure he could retrieve the Space Stone without damaging the Cosmic Cube. Even so, he couldn't give up on the Space Stone. Besides advancing his zombie bloodline, it was another crucial avenue for him to improve his strength. As for what the future plot would hold, he couldn't worry about it. Perhaps, Wang Yunxiao could seek out the Sorcerer Supreme, the Ancient One, who had long controlled the Time Stone and might have a solution. But that would only happen after he ascended to the status of Zombie King and truly possessed the power to rival him. Okay, no problem, Arnim and Lawson nodded. While their current research faced significant difficulties, success was not easy, and they weren't discouraged. Instead, they were filled with fighting spirit. Leave it to us, Howard said, eager to try. If it weren't for the wrong timing, he would have dragged Arnim and Lawson into the lab to begin their research. Even so, he inappropriately engaged the two in a heated discussion about the details of their research. Wang Yunxiao didn't interrupt them, but stood up and went to find Charles and Bolivar, asking about their progress. Bolivar's research on how to enhance mutant sex genes and maximize their potential wouldn't yield results soon. It was still in its exploratory stages. Wang Yunxiao wasn't surprised by this, but instead felt a pang of regret. If Apocalypse had been captured, even obtaining some of his X genes or blood would have been a significant aid to Bolivar's research. It's worth noting that Bolivar's daily training required a large amount of mutant X genes, and he even required their cooperation in certain experiments. Although he never harmed them, he was still the most unpopular person in the mutant school. It was unavoidable, after all, no one liked being a lab guinea pig. Charles's human trials with a third-generation super soldier serum, despite repeated failures, had yielded sufficient data, and he believed he would have good news soon. The banquet lasted until late, but for Wang Yunxiao, it wasn't the end, it was the beginning of a wonderful evening. The next day, Wang Yunxiao emerged from the Wakanda Palace feeling refreshed, a sense of joy emanating from every pore. They first captured Howard at the research center. He was quite the con man, having spent the entire night in the lab with Arnim and Lawson, leaving Maria completely alone in their new home. It seemed like Maria should be given something to do in Wakanda, otherwise, without Tony around, she'd be so lonely. Well, Wang Yunxiao would never admit it, but he had another motive, to exploit Howard even more. After helping Howard ascend to the third generation of zombies, Wang Yunxiao disregarded the research maniac and headed straight for the training room Best had built specifically for him. He eagerly began to investigate the essence and blood of the Zombie King, Jiangjin, to see what changes it had brought to him. After thoroughly studying himself, Wang Yunxiao's lips curled up slightly, his eyes sparkling with surprise. He discovered that, besides breaking the shackles of his zombie bloodline, he had also gained a significant benefit, his only two gains. This immense benefit solidified Wang Yunxiao's foundation. The weakness he'd previously incurred from absorbing vast quantities of blood energy in his haste to ascend to the zombie bloodline was now completely replenished, undoubtedly saving him a considerable amount of time. In fact, Wang Yunxiao had already recognized this shortcoming back in the world of My Date with a Vampire, after hearing Jiang Chen's warning. However, there was no immediate solution, it would require a significant amount of time. While zombies possessing eternal life wouldn't be short of time, Wang Yunxiao truly didn't want to wait that long, nor could he. I didn't expect the Pengu bloodline to have such miraculous effects. It seems I'll need to explore this area more in the future. As his thoughts raced, Wang Yunxiao set himself another small goal. Although Wang Yunxiao was well aware of the downsides of this approach, he had no choice but to do so in order to quickly elevate his zombie bloodline and thereby gain immense strength to face the increasingly powerful opponents he might face in the future. Furthermore, wasn't this method a significant advantage for Wang Yunxiao, one that even Jiang Chen, the ancestor of zombies, possessed? Wang Yunxiao didn't rush to leave the training room. With a thought, numerous special containers filled with mutant blood suddenly appeared before him. He was eager to recreate the exhilarating sensation of rapidly increasing his zombie bloodline. However, to Wang Yunxiao's great disappointment, beta-level mutant blood was no longer of any use in elevating his zombie bloodline. The only alpha-level mutant blood he had, obtained from Magneto Eric Lancher, did provide a considerable amount of blood energy to elevate his zombie bloodline. But after a rough estimate, if he wants to be fully promoted to the Zombie King, he will need at least 5 portions of the same weight. Where can he find them? Please collect, recommend, and vote for me. Chapter 239 Tony Stark. Looking across the entire Marvel Universe, while the mutant population numbers in the millions, only a handful have reached the alpha level. Furthermore, in this era, aside from the ever-loving and rebellious duo of Charles Xavier and Eric Lensher, the remaining alpha-level mutants have either not yet matured or haven't even been born. This undoubtedly presents a formidable challenge for Wang Yunxiao. Perhaps, Wang Yunxiao could target the Sorcerer Supreme, the Ancient One, or even Jean Grey, the Phoenix Girl, who unleashed the Phoenix Force. The blood of a powerful celestial being would undoubtedly be far more potent than the blood of a few alpha-level mutants, but that would undoubtedly be tantamount to seeking death. Damn. It's a shame it's already 1991, otherwise, Wang Yunxiao quickly thought of the future Star-Lord, Peter Quill. Unfortunately, he was taken from Earth by the Cosmic Reaver, Yondu, in 1988. Unlike the mutants, Wang Yunxiao didn't need to wait for Peter to mature. All he needed was the blood of Ego, the Celestial, flowing within him. Looks like this thing has to be planned slowly, since it was already too late. Regret was pointless. He could only temporarily relent from the urgency of ascending to Zombie King. While it might be difficult to accomplish this in a hurry, Wang Yunxiao's bottom line was that it must happen no later than 2008, the year Tony Stark, the future Iron Man, was born, marking the beginning of a new era for the Marvel Universe. Perhaps with the advent of this new era, more powerful beings, those with the blood of the powerful, would descend upon Earth, such as Thor Odinson, making it easier for Wang Yunxiao to acquire the blood of the powerful and ascend to Zombie King. But for him, it would already be too late. By that time, even a celestial father-level powerhouse would barely be able to protect himself, and that was under the premise of cautious retreat. Otherwise, even that little self-preservation would be difficult to maintain. Not to mention, now that the Space Stone was in Wang Yunxiao's possession, if Thanos wanted to implement his universe-wide family planning plan, he would be the first target. Even if he had successfully ascended to Zombie King, could he truly withstand Thanos' cosmic invasion? This was absolutely unacceptable to Wang Yunxiao. This meant that if Wang Yunxiao hadn't ascended to Zombie King before the new era arrived, he wouldn't mind risking another trip to the world of My Date with a Vampire to seek an opportunity for advancement. Wang Yunxiao didn't stay in Wakanda, returning directly to New York. For no other reason than to visit his godson, Tony. The Howards had been buried for some time, and it would be unacceptable for him not to visit them. Boom, boom, boom. As soon as he entered Stark Manor, the sound of thumping music reached Wang Yunxiao's ears. That brat, Wang Yunxiao frowned slightly. Before arriving, he'd heard from Selena that Tony had been engaging in a number of outrageous behavior since the Howards' burial, reminiscent of Howard's playboy ways in his youth. While he suspected Tony was deliberately acting so unruly to mask his grief, Wang Yunxiao still found it somewhat unacceptable. Quickening his pace, Wang Yunxiao arrived at the outdoor swimming pool. It was bustling with activity. A pool party was underway, with voluptuous women in swimsuits surrounding Tony and his friends. Even his arrival went unnoticed. Hiss. Hiss. Wang Yunxiao walked directly to the speakers, turned off the music, and rubbed the microphone a few times. A piercing noise immediately erupted from the speakers. This completely shattered the heated atmosphere, and instantly, everyone's attention was focused on Wang Yunxiao. Which bastard, Tony, the host, roared in frustration. You, but then, realizing the instigator was Wang Yunxiao, Tony lazily replied, and nothing more. Get out. Wang Yunxiao ignored him, his cold gaze slowly sweeping across the faces of his friends and the swimsuit beauties, scorning them lightly. How could they withstand such a gaze from Wang Yunxiao? They instinctively lowered their heads and scattered like birds and beasts, leaving the place completely empty in the blink of an eye. Come out now. Do you still need my help? Wang Yunxiao said unhappily, glancing at Tony, who was still lingering in the pool. No thanks. Tony flinched, losing his earlier laziness and quickly swimming to shore. Ever since childhood, Wang Yunxiao had been a demon in his mind. He had simply gotten a little too high. Get yourself sorted, then meet me in the living room. Picking up a towel and tossing it at Tony, Wang Yunxiao strode away without a backward glance. Uncle Yunxiao, in just a dozen minutes, Tony, fully dressed, arrived in the living room. Sit down. Wang Yunxiao's expression softened as he stubbed out his slim cigar. First of all, I'm sorry I wasn't with you at that moment, he said gently and sincerely. Tony remained silent, a flicker of sadness in his eyes. "Tony, I have no intention of changing your lifestyle, but I want you to know that you still have a family in this world," Wang Yunxiao said softly after a moment's thought. "I know," Tony nodded slightly, but remained silent. Similarly, Wang Yunxiao was at a loss for words. Honestly, he'd rarely encountered such a situation before, and he didn't know how to comfort Tony, especially when he knew Howard wasn't dead. Wang Yunxiao was not going to tell Tony right now that the Howards were not dead. This was also what the Howards meant. For a moment, the atmosphere in the hall became a little dull, and both of them were silent. "Uncle Yunxiao, do you think the car accident that my parents had was really just an accident?" Tony suddenly asked quietly after an unknown amount of time. He had always had doubts about the Howards' car accident, but those he trusted told him that it was really just an accident. "Why do you ask that?" Wang Yunxiao was slightly startled and asked back. "Nothing, I just have some doubts. Maybe I'm too suspicious." Tony shook his head bitterly and said uncertainly, "Please collect, recommend, and vote for me." Chapter 240, Unexpected Expectations. Perhaps I'm overthinking it. Given the old man's status and position, it wouldn't be easy for someone to harm him, Tony Stark said, not without a hint of self-mockery. Tony was vaguely aware that his father, Howard, was not only one of the wealthiest capitalists in the United States, but also held a prominent position in the shadowy government department. Well, like the father-son relationship in many American families, Howard's busy work life meant he wasn't around much during Tony's childhood, leading to some tension between father and son and a lack of knowledge of Howard's affairs. "Tony, you still love him, don't you?" Wang Yunxiao looked directly into Tony's eyes, his lips curling up slightly in a faint smile. Tony fell silent again, but he didn't rush to retort as he usually did. This was not only because the Howards were passing away, but also because it was Wang Yunxiao, his godfather, who was asking him the question. Honestly, although Wang Yunxiao had always been a demon in Tony's mind, despite being incredibly intelligent and still remembering the things Wang Yunxiao did to him as a child, like the bouncing sound. But emotionally, he was undoubtedly closer to Wang Yunxiao. Many times, Wang Yunxiao was like a father figure to him. "Don't worry, I'll send someone to investigate this matter." "Don't worry about it anymore," Wang Yunxiao said, leaving it at that. He didn't want Tony to continue pursuing this matter and draw the Soviets' attention back to him. "How's Stark Industries doing? Do you need any help?" Without giving Tony a chance to object, Wang Yunxiao shifted the conversation back to Stark Industries. Tony undoubtedly possesses a genius comparable to his father, Howard, both in research and development and in business. However, he's still only in his early 20s, and inevitably pales in comparison to the veterans of Stark Industries. "No thanks. Uncle Stan is truly capable of helping me, and he fully supports me on the board of directors. Besides, Stark Industries is Stark, and I'm its largest shareholder." Tony shook his head slightly, speaking seriously, yet with a touch of genius's arrogance. "That's good. However, I must remind you that controlling the largest industrial conglomerate in the United States requires you to be extremely vigilant. If you encounter any problems, please let me know immediately." Wang Yunxiao naturally wouldn't force his stance, but he did offer a few more reminders. Wang Yunxiao knew full well that Obadiah Stane, the current CEO of Stark Industries and the company's second largest shareholder, supported Tony so strongly because of his genius, which could develop more and more powerful firearms, generating sufficient profits for him to keep Stark Industries at the top of the US, and indeed the world. However, if Tony ever harmed his interests, Obadiah would swiftly oust Tony, even resorting to any nefarious acts, much like the plot of a future Iron Man film. However, Wang Yunxiao wasn't worried about this. He would assign someone to keep a close eye on Obadiah, ensuring he would never harm Tony. That day, the two stayed up late, talking extensively and even having dinner together before Wang Yunxiao left Stark Manor. In the days that followed, Wang Yunxiao would see Tony regularly, sometimes by going to Stark Tower to meet him, sometimes by calling him home, or even at the Hellfire Club. Wang Yunxiao's actions weren't just out of concern for Tony. They were also a way to send a clear message to those who might be interested, how much he values Tony as his godson. Even though Howard was gone, he still had Tony as his godfather, protecting him from any undue suspicions. However, unlike Howard, who frequently frequented the Hellfire Club, Tony wasn't particularly fond of it, despite the numerous beauties and even the most famous celebrities and models in the country. He simply said he didn't like being around old people. Well, the consequence of Tony's words was that before Wang Yunxiao could do anything to him, the real old person, Selene, had already left a lasting impression on him. Aside from showing his attentiveness to Tony's affairs, Wang Yunxiao reverted to his usual, leisurely lifestyle. If it weren't for something lingering on his mind, he'd likely have already taken Selena, who was equally as engrossed, and embarked on a world tour. In truth, Wang Yunxiao had long planned to visit the ancient kingdom of the East. Perhaps the difference between the two worlds would make that ancient Eastern kingdom vastly different from what he remembered, but it would be a shame not to see it for himself. However, Wang Yunxiao waited until 1992, when Evan Alexander Pierce, the current director of SHIELD, secretly a Hydra leader, ridiculously won the Nobel Peace Prize. His longed-for event never materialized. Shortly after the Howards were buried, Peggy Carter resigned as director of SHIELD and lived a reclusive life, meeting only once with her old friend, Wang Yunxiao. Who would believe that this had nothing to do with the Howards' deaths? And the event Wang Yunxiao longed to see was the plot of X-Men, Dark Phoenix. With Apocalypse suddenly appearing to stir up trouble, it wouldn't be surprising if an alien leader, the Walker, arrived on Earth, right? While the true strength of this alien visitor was uncertain, the fact that he had caused such a stir was certainly not bad, and for Wang Yunxiao, this presented an opportunity. He even considered taking the risk of attacking Jean Grey, the Phoenix Girl, who had unleashed the Phoenix Force. Unfortunately, Wang Yunxiao's hopes were dashed, and the plot of X-Men, Dark Phoenix didn't unfold as he had hoped. This wasn't because Professor Xavier's care for Jean Grey was too good. Despite the full mobilization of the Umbrella Corporation, the Hellfire Club, and Wakanda's intelligence networks, Wang Yunxiao failed to detect even a trace of the alien visitor, Walker. Thanks to Ling Shen, King Wu, and book friend 201801114915242238 for their guaranteed monthly passes. Today's 3 updates are here. Please bookmark, recommend, and vote. Chapter 241 Ghost Rider. Wang Yunxiao is undoubtedly disappointed that the plot of X-Men, Dark Phoenix didn't happen. This also meant he likely missed an opportunity to ascend to the Zombie King. However, before Wang Yunxiao could shake off his gloom, Lane was also in a state of extreme gloom due to something that happened. Or perhaps 2 things. What happened? Why do you look so grim? Wang Yunxiao asked softly during dinner, looking at Lane, whose face was so gloomy that it looked like water dripping out. HMPH, Lane snorted softly, but didn't reply, revealing the depth of her current mood. Just today, 2 special forces teams dispatched by the security company were attacked by unknown forces, and their employers suffered some degree of harm. Ada Wang considerately explained the situation to Lane. As the CEO of Umbrella Security, she certainly couldn't hide the secrets of Umbrella Security. The story was that this afternoon, 2 special forces teams hired by Umbrella Security were attacked almost simultaneously, and even the employers they were protecting were injured. These 2 vicious incidents occurred, one in Houston, Texas, and the other in New York. It remains unknown whether these 2 brutal attacks were carried out by the same group, and who is responsible. The incidents were so recent that the Umbrella Corporation couldn't possibly uncover anything in such a short period of time. However, it is certain that the target was the Umbrella Corporation, or even Wang Yunxiao himself. Otherwise, how could such a coincidence have occurred? Following these devastating attacks, Lane, the head of Umbrella Security, immediately received complaints from both of her employers. One in New York even approached her directly, and naturally, their attitude was unpleasant, which undoubtedly infuriated her. After over 30 years of development, under Lane's leadership, Umbrella Security has expanded beyond its sole service to the Umbrella Corporation, now undertaking numerous external projects and becoming one of the largest security companies in the United States, and perhaps even the world. But a vicious attack like today's, one that also harmed her employer, was unprecedented in recent years, so it's no wonder Lane was so upset. Alright, don't be angry. Leave this to me. I'll definitely find those hiding in the shadows and repay them 1,000-fold. Wang Yunxiao quickly comforted Lane and took the initiative to take on the task. In reality, Wang Yunxiao wasn't just trying to vent Lane's anger, he was also feeling rather down, and since someone had offered him the automatic door, he could vent his frustration. Otherwise, the women alone could have easily handled it. Over the years, the Umbrella Corporation and the Hellfire Club had weathered many storms, but Wang Yunxiao rarely had to intervene. The women had handled them well. Yes, Lane, don't be too angry. No matter who did this, we won't let them off. The other women also offered words of advice, which only helped to ease Lane's mood. What are you going to do? Lane asked Wang Yunxiao glumly. It's simple. First, find out who's hiding in the shadows, and leave the rest to me. It's also been a while since I've taken action, and I'm afraid some people might be getting impatient again. Wang Yunxiao still wore a smile on his face, but the women who knew him well could easily detect the murderous intent surging within him. While none of them knew Wang Yunxiao would react so violently this time, they were determined to support him no matter what, even if he wanted to cause chaos. Well, New York is her territory after all, so it shouldn't be difficult to investigate anything. Selena and I will go to Houston, Wang Yunxiao added after a moment's thought. Naturally, none of the women saw any point in this. Leave New York to me, Lane's eyes flashed with a chilling coldness. Then, the group discussed some details. After dinner, the girls naturally handed Wang Yunxiao over to Lane, letting Wang Yunxiao comfort her. The next afternoon, Wang Yunxiao and Selena were in the presidential suite on the top floor of the most luxurious five-star hotel in downtown Houston. Through the spacious floor-to-ceiling windows, the entire city was in full view. What should we do next? Should we contact the head of intelligence here? Selena asked seriously, overlooking the fourth-largest city in the United States. No rush? Maybe we can go see this tonight. As Wang Yunxiao spoke, he handed Selena a cool poster. Death Leap? It's already this time, and you still want to have fun? Be careful if Lane finds out and comes to kill you. Selena gave Wang Yunxiao a sullen look. Yes, this poster is a motorcycle stunt show, Death Leap. Looking at the poster, Wang Yunxiao's mood was definitely not as calm as he appeared. The protagonist of this motorcycle stunt show was Johnny Brace, the infamous Ghost Rider. Ghost Rider, the mortal representative of Mephisto, the Lord of Hell. Legend has it that his origins vary. Satanus, the metal of power, the spirit of vengeance, Norbert Kyle, Rankil, Heaven, and even God. Regardless, he was undoubtedly a formidable force. He wondered how much Ghost Rider's blood would contribute to the advancement of his own zombie bloodline. And what about Mephisto, the Lord of Hell, and his son, the Witch-Heart Demon? Wang Yunxiao pondered this. He felt a mixture of excitement and trepidation. The future Ghost Rider would possess at least the power of a godfather. Even Mephisto would be no match for him, and certainly not someone Wang Yunxiao could provoke. But right now, the immature Ghost Rider might be a good prey. However, Wang Yunxiao did not dare to take it lightly. Neither the hellfire of the Ghost Rider nor his eye of judgment were things that Wang Yunxiao could ignore. Believe me, this guy is really interesting. You won't regret meeting him. Wang Yunxiao laughed rather mysteriously. Could it be him? Selena had obviously misunderstood and thought that Johnny was the mastermind behind the scenes. However, it was not impossible. Johnny, who had transformed into the Ghost Rider, was quite violent and could not even control himself. He only knew how to judge evil souls. And those special agents of the Umbrella Security Company, whose hands were not stained with blood. Please collect, recommend, and vote for me. Chapter 242 Death Leap. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Johnny Blazer's Death Leap. The host's impassioned opening announcement echoed throughout the stadium. Yes, Johnny. The packed stadium was filled with motorcycle stunt enthusiasts cheering enthusiastically, anticipating the show's start. Meanwhile, Johnny, the star of the show, was being interviewed backstage by a beautiful reporter. "How's your dad?" Before the reporter could even ask, Johnny suddenly blurted out. It seemed like they knew each other. Well, that was indeed the case. Not only were they acquaintances, they were once lovers. And now, it seems Johnny still has feelings for the beautiful reporter, Roxanne Simpson. Back then, Johnny was 17 years old, and he and his father, Barton Blazer, made a living performing motorcycle stunts at an amusement park. The resilient and courageous Barton had always been Johnny's role model. But Barton suddenly fell ill with a terminal illness, leaving Johnny devastated. One day, an old man appeared before Johnny, promising to cure Patton, but in exchange for Johnny signing a contract to sell his soul. Desperate, Johnny half-heartedly accepted the old man's offer and signed the demonic pact. The next day, Patton's terminal illness was truly cured. However, that same day, Patton unexpectedly died during a motorcycle stunt. Patton had performed these stunts hundreds, if not 1,000 times. How could such an accident happen? Nothing is more heartbreaking and infuriating than losing something just moments after gaining it, and Johnny harbored a deep hatred for the old man. To his surprise, the old man turned out to be Mephistopheles, the Lord of Hell. This not only left him with no hope of revenge, but also forced him to be bound by Mephistopheles because of the demonic pact. That night, Johnny transformed into a mad, hell-burning ghost rider, a being devoid of reason, intent only on judging sinners and sacrificing their souls to Mephistopheles. This forced Johnny, who had regained consciousness, to leave his hometown and his girlfriend, Roxanne, behind, to avoid harming others and himself. Johnny Blaze, thank you for accepting this interview before your performance. No one has ever attempted this distance before, from goal to goal, that's over 300 feet. Can you tell me what you're thinking right now? Roxanne was slightly taken aback by this. She hadn't expected Johnny to pull such a stunt, but her professionalism allowed her to quickly recover and begin the interview. You look great. I've seen you on TV. You know, I've seen a lot of your shows, and you're really good. Johnny seemed oblivious to Roxanne's words, simply expressing his concern for her. Johnny, what motivates you to risk your life to entertain the public? Roxanne was speechless. If it weren't for her colleagues constantly giving her the nods, the interview would have been impossible to continue. I heard you're married. Johnny remained silent. Just when Roxanne thought the interview was finally back on track, he suddenly asked, "Oh, no, not yet." Roxanne instinctively pulled the microphone away, quickly denying. "No," Johnny smiled with relief. "Most of the time, we've heard you've paid a heavy price for this, like broken bones, anything else." Once again, Roxanne, reminded by her colleague, remembered that the interview was still ongoing. She quickly suppressed her lingering feelings and asked a random question. "Yes," Johnny leaned in. But his mind was now preoccupied with the joy of Roxanne not yet getting married, and he couldn't think of a response. After a long pause, he finally managed these two words. "Okay, thank you for letting us know the real Johnny Blazer. I'm Roxanne Simpson, reporting from the scene." Roxanne, knowing the interview couldn't go any further, abruptly concluded. Well, this was undoubtedly a very bad interview, as the speechless expressions on Roxanne's colleagues' faces made clear. "How is it going? Doesn't he look interesting?" Nearby, Wang Yunxiao and Selena watched this entertaining interview unfold seamlessly. Wang Yunxiao even asked Selena with a hint of sarcasm. "What's so interesting about that? He looks like just an ordinary stuntman, nothing special." "Did he really do that?" Selena glared at Wang Yunxiao, then asked doubtfully. "I never said that." Wang Yunxiao shrugged, his face etched with innocence. "You?" Selena was furious and speechless, wishing she had nothing to do with this irritating guy. "Okay, don't be angry. Trust me, he's really interesting, and you can't just judge by appearances." Wang Yunxiao quickly put on a smile and soothed. "Really?" Selena looked at Wang Yunxiao doubtfully. "Really, I believe you." Wang Yunxiao nodded seriously. "I'll trust you again, huh?" Selena snorted proudly, and they headed towards the stands together. "Ladies and gentlemen, Johnny Blaze won't be jumping over 50 cars today as planned. Instead, he'll be jumping over 6 A-60 Black Hawk helicopters. No one has ever attempted such a death jump, so let's cheer and anticipate." Finally, the death jump was about to begin. As the host's impassioned commentary continued, the stadium's roof slowly opened, and 6 Black Hawk helicopters landed steadily on the field. Johnny, seeing the helicopter rotor still spinning at high speed, the entire stadium's audience instinctively stood up, roaring with excitement. Bang, 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 the improvised concave motorcycles at each end of the field ran to either side, exploding into brilliant fireworks, adding fuel to the heated atmosphere. Boom, boom, the roar of the motorcycles was like a roaring beast, and the thick exhaust pipes on both sides spewed out scorching flames. Release the brakes, screw the accelerator to the floor, and Johnny's motorcycle roared out of the concave runway like a cannonball. At that moment, everyone held their breath, silently watching the figure soar above the high-speed rotating helicopter's rotor blades. The stadium, packed with tens of thousands of people, fell into hushed silence. Johnny, finally, with everyone watching intently, Johnny soared over 6 Black Hawk helicopters and landed steadily on the concave runway at the other end of the stadium. Please bookmark, recommend, and vote. Chapter 243 Mephistopheles. Bang, bang, bang. A dazzling display of fireworks erupted across the flyover field, celebrating Johnny Blaze's completion of his death-defying leap. Let's cheer for him, ladies and gentlemen. 300 feet, a new world record. Only Johnny Blaze could do it, the host's passionate announcement echoed throughout the stadium. Johnny, Johnny, a thunderous roar echoed through the stadium, as everyone in attendance enthusiastically celebrated Johnny. However, Johnny, the very center of celebration, rode off the flyover field on his sleek motorcycle without a backward glance. Is that what you call funny? Selena glanced at Wang Yunxiao from a corner of the stands. Don't worry, you'll find out by tonight, Wang Yunxiao said with a mysterious, profound smile. Then, he and Selena left the flyover field together. With Wang Yunxiao's intelligence system, uncovering the mastermind behind the attack on Umbrella Security might be a long shot, but locating Johnny's residence would be a simple matter. Even before Wang Yunxiao and Selena returned to the hotel, Johnny's address had already been sent to his phone. The night was dark and windy, with a cool breeze. Wang Yunxiao and Selena stood on the rooftop of a high-rise building, overlooking the dilapidated residential area below. What the hell do you want me to see? You dragged me here in the middle of the night, Selena said grumpily, her tone tinged with complaint. They had been standing there in the cold wind for a while, and there wasn't much to see in this dilapidated residential area. Here they come. Wang Yunxiao was about to urge Selena to be patient when his expression suddenly changed, and he said softly, boom, boom. Even without Wang Yunxiao's warning, Selena saw a motorcycle speeding into the deserted alley below with a roar like a beast. Most crucially, it had no driver. Selena stared at the scene in amazement. Even with her limited knowledge, she was stunned. What kind of advanced technology was this? A driverless motorcycle? Wang Yunxiao gently pulled Selena, signaling her to keep quiet and continue watching. The next moment, Johnny approached cautiously, lost in thought as he stared at the still rumbling motorcycle, his thoughts unsettled. It's you? Suddenly, as if sensing something, Johnny glanced coldly in one direction, his expression turning extremely angry and tinged with a hint of fear. Hello, Johnny. A gray-haired old man slowly approached Johnny. Stay away, Johnny warned coldly. I'm afraid it's a little too late, Johnny. Ever since you signed that contract, our fates have been inextricably linked, the old man said with a half-smile. What are you doing here? Recalling the past, Johnny's face darkened even further, and he demanded sharply. I've always been there. Phoenix, Denver, Houston, the old man spoke slowly, each city he mentioned a place Johnny had toured. You're the one who's kept me alive. Johnny's tone remained icy, and even though he harbored such doubts, his temper remained unrelenting. No. Johnny, believe me, you're the best. This is all thanks to you, and I'm your biggest fan, the old man denied Johnny's words, speaking seriously. You know, Johnny, hearing those crowds screaming and singing for you makes me so proud. It's like an investment, constantly increasing in value, until one day, you can cash it in. And that day has finally come. Without even glancing at Johnny's increasingly grim expression, the old man continued to speak to himself. Find that witch demon and destroy him. Finally, the old man revealed the purpose of his visit. Don't even think about letting you control me again, Johnny refused firmly. No, you'll, because we have a contract. Have you forgotten again? The old man was full of confidence. Johnny said nothing more, just staring at the old man coldly, his attitude not softening in the slightest. Okay, Johnny, I promise you, if you do this, I will return your soul to you. The old man did not continue to force himself, and began to tempt Johnny again. Do you think I still believe you, you devil? Johnny sneered disdainfully. Then there's nothing I can do, the old man sighed helplessly, slamming the skull cane in his hands against the ground. Bang! With a silent sound, Johnny's expression changed drastically, as if he had thought of something terrible. He wanted to stop it, but he was completely powerless. No, Johnny let out a shrill and terrified roar, his whole body seemed to be enduring some inhuman pain. The next moment, Johnny's body erupted in a blazing hellfire. His body, clad in black leather, transformed into a pale skeleton with a hideous skull atop. Uncontrollably, Johnny mounted his motorcycle. This beloved vehicle, which had accompanied him on his tours through major cities, was transformed by the hellfire into a skeleton chariot. Boom, boom, The roar of the skeleton chariot grew increasingly muffled. The roar of a beast was no longer enough to describe it, it was more like the roar of a demon. Boom! The skeleton chariot rushed out at full speed, plowing a charred trail in the ground, burning with raging hellfire. Boom, boom, boom. Wherever the skeleton chariot passed, the windows of the buildings on both sides of the alley shattered, and parked cars were blown skyward. On this dark night, Johnny, transformed into the Ghost Rider, once again began his journey of judging sin, even searching for the traces of the witch heart demon. Who is he? And what about that Johnny? Selena, perched on the rooftop, asked Wang Yunxiao with lingering fear. Just before the old man left, he cast a meaningful glance in their direction, sending a shiver of fear through their veins. Clearly, their presence hadn't been hidden from the old man. Mephisto, the Lord of Hell. And Johnny, the Ghost Rider who sold his soul to him. Wang Yunxiao, his expression solemn, briefly explained the two's origins to Selena. Perhaps the pressure Mephisto brought to them was truly heavy, hardly less than that of Phoenix Girl Jean Grey, who unleashed the power of the Phoenix that day. But Wang Yunxiao knew that this was merely mental pressure. With the Ancient One, the Supreme Sorcerer, in charge of Earth, Mephisto would never be able to descend in person. Thanks to Junhan Candy and I'm a lowly covet for your body for the guaranteed monthly pass. Today's 3 updates are here. Please bookmark, recommend, and vote. If you are listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means it was downloaded and re-uploaded without effort. We warmly invite you to visit our channel, Fanfic World. There you will find the original version of this story and many other novels of various genres. We look forward to seeing you dive into a world of incredible novels. Chapter 244, Saint Venganza's Contract. Mephisto, the Lord of Hell, departed. Although he had noticed Wang Yunxiao and Selena spying on him and his Ghost Rider, for some unknown reason, he made no move, retreating silently. Perhaps, as Wang Yunxiao suspected, he was merely a mortal incarnation of Mephisto, lacking immense power. This made Wang Yunxiao even more oblivious to his presence, free to do whatever he pleased. Mephisto's gaze before leaving clearly held a strong warning, warning Wang Yunxiao and Selena to stay out of his way, but Wang Yunxiao didn't care. In a flash, Wang Yunxiao and Selena teleported from the rooftop, chasing after the Ghost Rider, Johnny Blaze. Although Wang Yunxiao had only observed Johnny from a distance, he still memorized his presence. The hellfire blazing through him, especially, made him resemble a firefly in the night. It would have been difficult for Wang Yunxiao to forget him. Following Johnny, the two encountered the witch heart demon mentioned by Mephisto, along with a water demon, wind demon, and earth demon accompanying him. These 4 were truly arrogant, completely disregarding Johnny, acting with utter contempt, even dismissing him. If it were just a witch heart demon, it would have been fine. After all, he was Mephisto's son, with the blood of the Lord of Hell flowing through his veins, so he possessed some real power. But what about these 3 disgusting creatures? They were nothing more than cowardly bandits hiding in dark corners, greedily feeding on the evil thoughts and desires of humanity. Sure enough, the earth demon, so arrogant just moments before, was incinerated by the hellfire, reduced to a pile of gravel, a death beyond mortal reach. However, it must be said that Johnny's transformation into Ghost Rider was truly formidable. Not only did he possess near immortality, his hellfire could incinerate anything. Later, Wang Yunxiao and Selena witnessed firsthand the power of Johnny's eyes of judgment, capable of directly judging the sins of human souls. However, Johnny's definition of sin was absolute, even categorically defined as either good or evil. Even petty thieves would be deemed guilty before his eyes, their souls completely incinerated. How many people in this world could be completely free of sin? Finally, the two followed Johnny to a cemetery, where they watched as a gravekeeper carried the unconscious Johnny into the cemetery. Why did he come here? Selena looked at Wang Yunxiao with a hint of confusion. Perhaps, as fellow Ghost Riders, they share a certain connection, Wang Yunxiao concluded after a moment's thought. How could he possibly know why Johnny had ended up in this remote, haunted place? This was the only explanation that made sense. Or perhaps, Johnny was being guided by Mephisto? Wang Yunxiao knew that not only the witch heart demon, but Mephisto had also long coveted the contract of Saint Venganza in the gravekeeper's possession. You mean, this gravekeeper too? Selena's eyes flashed with surprise. Yes, his name is Carter Slay, a ghost rider who sold his soul to Mephisto in the previous generation, Wang Yunxiao confirmed with a nod. Whether it's the witch heart demon or Mephisto, they're both after the contract of Saint Venganza in his possession. The talk of eliminating the witch heart demon is just a pretext. After some thought, Wang Yunxiao explained the stakes to Selena. Should we seize it? Selena asked with interest. For even the Lord of Hell to go to such lengths to covet it, the contract of Saint Venganza must be something truly extraordinary. No rush? I still need to use it to inflict mutual destruction on the witch heart demon and the ghost rider. Wang Yunxiao shook his head slightly, rejecting Selena's suggestion. Besides, this thing has enormous implications. If we act rashly, it might attract the supreme sorcerer. Wang Yunxiao then expressed his concerns. Since the contract of Saint Venganza possesses the power to open the gates of hell and allow Mephisto's true form to descend upon earth, how could the Ancient One sit idly by and allow it to fall into Wang Yunxiao's hands? After all, in the Ancient One's eyes, Wang Yunxiao was also a destabilizing factor. Forget it then, Selena decisively dismissed the thought. She had heard Wang Yunxiao repeatedly emphasize the Ancient One's power. Let's go back. There's nothing exciting to see tonight. Immediately, Wang Yunxiao, unwilling to linger any longer, teleported back to the hotel with Selena. Witnessing so many interesting things that night was destined to be a sleepless night. The next day, the entire city of Houston was in turmoil. Not to mention the devastation wrought by Johnny's infernal fire, the sheer number of deaths last night, all in such bizarre circumstances, was bound to cause a stir. Looks like some people are going to be busy again, Wang Yunxiao said with a hint of gloating as he watched the live interview of Johnny's old flame, Roxanne Simpson, on TV. You? Selena glared at Wang Yunxiao, speechless at his mischievousness. Huh? He's here too? Johnny's presence appeared on the interview screen, slightly surprising Selena. Was it for no other reason than his remarkable resilience? He looked perfectly normal, completely belying the weakness from last night's coma. Are we still going to follow him tonight? Selena then asked Wang Yunxiao. Of course, it's going to be a lively night. Wang Yunxiao's eyes glittered with an inexplicable brilliance. Alright, Selena had no objections. She was equally intrigued by Johnny, the witch heart demon, and even the lurking Mephisto. More importantly, she was well aware that Wang Yunxiao was already targeting them, and naturally offered her full support. By the way, don't forget to inform Rain that this incident was just an accident. Tell them to stop focusing on this and focus on tracking down the leads in New York, Wang Yunxiao added after a moment's thought. After witnessing the deaths of the Umbrella security agents in Houston, Wang Yunxiao was completely certain that they had met their demise at the hands of Johnny's Judgment Eye. It was nothing more than an accident. He just didn't know how they had antagonized Johnny enough to transform him into the Ghost Rider. But one thing was certain, these Umbrella security agents had blood on their hands, and in Johnny's eyes, they were undoubtedly evil. Please bookmark, recommend, and vote. Chapter 245 Weakness. The moon was bright, the stars sparse, and the sky was cloudless. Tonight, Wang Yunxiao didn't take Selena to Johnny's residence again, but to the Houston Police Department. The unfortunate Ghost Rider Johnny Blaze had been arrested by local police. Clearly, the city's police were no pushovers. In a short time, they zeroed in on Johnny. And they were wrong. They're still a bit too reckless. They should have waited for more professional personnel to come in, Selena sighed softly. Seeing the late hour, she couldn't help but feel sympathy for the police. The professionals she was referring to were, of course, SHIELD. However, Hydra is now in charge of SHIELD, a completely different team than when Peggy Carter led the charge. They won't act rashly without solid intelligence, and they're busy planting agents within SHIELD. Boom, boom. Sure enough, before Selena could finish her words, accompanied by a roar like a demon's roar, Johnny's skeleton chariot, blazing with infernal flames, sped towards the police station and came to a steady stop. Then, transformed into Ghost Rider, Johnny staggered out, his gaze fixed on a skull also ablaze with hellfire. Not all the police officers were frightened of Johnny's horrific appearance. One, fearlessly, stood up and struck Johnny hard with his baton. Though his entire body trembled, he had to admit he was being reckless. Hey, Johnny didn't argue with the entire police force. He simply waved his finger at the officer, took the chains from the skeleton chariot, wrapped them around himself, and mounted it, leaving behind a piercing laugh as he sped away. A deep furrow had been plowed into the ground, ablaze with inferno. The police cars parked on either side were blasted skyward. The skeleton chariot was fast, but it couldn't outrun Wang Yunxiao and Selena. And so, the two of them followed Johnny steadily, neither hurried nor slow. Beep, beep, the piercing sirens echoed through the silent night. The Houston police reacted with remarkable swiftness, quickly pursuing Johnny in large numbers. They even deployed helicopters. It looked as if they wouldn't stop until Johnny was apprehended. Though frantic, Johnny didn't want to be bothered by the police. He was eager to find the witch heart demon. Under his control, the skeleton chariot was truly omnipotent. He first rode directly onto the steel supports of the bridge, then, surrounded, plunged directly into the river. Then, riding the waves, he left most of the police stranded on the bridge. All units, attention. The suspect is fleeing toward 55th Street. Unfortunately, Johnny couldn't escape the helicopter. He was even caught in a surprise attack by the wind demon, causing some trouble and once again being surrounded by police from all sides. Furious, Johnny piloted his skeleton chariot straight up the outer wall of a building several dozen stories high, shocking everyone. This included his former lover, Roxanne Simpson, who was sulking at home. As a reporter, Roxanne couldn't contain herself at such a shocking sight. She rushed out of her house and rushed to the scene. Fortunately, her home was across the street from the building Johnny had climbed, not too far away. "You've pissed me off," Johnny roared angrily from the rooftop, wrapping a chain around the helicopter's landing pad and gradually pulling it closer. "Oh, no. I'm wrong. I'm leaving now," the helicopter pilot, practically paralyzed with fear, trembled and begged for mercy. "I'll help you." Johnny swung the chain hard, sending the helicopter flying in the other direction. Fortunately, he showed some mercy, or the helicopter would have been more than just flung away. Afterward, the helicopter dared not pursue him again, keeping a close watch on Johnny from a distance. Below the building, nearly the entire Houston police force was mobilized, surrounding the entire structure. But Johnny had no energy to pay attention to these matters. He was completely enraged by the reappearance of the wind demon. How dare this ugly creature, relying on its incorporeal nature, to toy with him? Johnny swung the chain with great force, and in an instant, a massive tornado formed, engulfing the wind demon. No, amidst a horrified roar, the wind demon, scorched by the hellfire, remained completely incinerated. Johnny sensed the presence of the witch heart demon and water demon still lingering nearby, and without hesitation, he scaled a building's outer wall again. Well, the owner of this building was truly unlucky. Deep furrows had been plowed into the building's exterior, and infernal flames blazed fiercely. Wherever the skeleton chariot passed, the building's window panes were shattered. Who knew how much it would cost to repair them? Bang! The skeleton chariot landed heavily on the ground, stirring up a cloud of dust and startling the surrounding police and passers-by in the distance. Coincidentally, Roxanne was nearby, and relying on her status as a reporter, she had leaned very close to the front. It was she who had screamed the loudest. Roxanne. Hearing Roxanne's scream, Johnny instinctively dismounted the skeleton chariot and walked towards her. The infernal flames that had once burned fiercely on his body had turned a pale blue, less scorching. Bang! 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 As the first gunshots rang out, the police officers on the scene raised their guns, thinking Johnny was about to attack them. "No! Don't!" Roxanne's anxious cries mingled with a torrent of gunfire. Despite Johnny's horrific appearance, she still vaguely recognized him. The gunfire died down, leaving him unharmed. However, his rage was already raging, and the flames of hell once again blazed within him. Fortunately, he retained some sense and refrained from a brutal massacre. Instead, he constructed a wall of hellfire, keeping everyone at bay. Perhaps influenced by Roxanne, Johnny sensed that he would soon transform back into human form. Without further hesitation, he rushed to the cemetery. Unbeknownst to Johnny, his reflexive action had revealed his greatest weakness to the witch heart demon, Roxanne. And all of this was seen by Wang Yunxiao and Selena. Please collect, recommend, and vote for me. Chapter 246 Carter Slay. A new day dawned, warm sunlight bathing the living room. Wang Yunxiao stood by the spacious floor-to-ceiling windows, overlooking a bustling area. It was the ill-fated building where Ghost Rider Johnny Blaze had wreaked havoc the previous night. How long will things take over here? There's progress over at Lane, and they're urging us to return as soon as possible, Selena asked softly, slowly approaching Wang Yunxiao's side. "It'll be soon. Perhaps we'll have results tonight." "Did the witch heart demon discover Johnny's weakness last night?" Wang Yunxiao sneered dismissively. "What about Lane? Did they say who specifically did it?" Wang Yunxiao then inquired about the situation in New York. "No. But I can tell from her tone that it seems like a remarkable discovery." Selena shook her head slightly, then asked with a hint of curiosity. "A remarkable discovery? That's quite interesting." Not only Selena, but even Wang Yunxiao couldn't help but wonder. What could have happened that Lane and the others considered so remarkable? Unfortunately, their curiosity could only be satisfied after they returned to New York. As night fell, Wang Yunxiao and Selena secretly tracked down Roxanne Simpson and followed her to Johnny's residence. Johnny hadn't returned yet, leaving only his friend and partner, Mike, at his residence. Before they could get to know each other, the witch heart demon arrived and invited, effortlessly mummifying Mike and easily capturing Roxanne. Wang Yunxiao and Selena watched indifferently. Neither of them had good intentions, and since no one's life or death was involved, it naturally didn't affect them. Long after, Johnny hurried back. Witnessing the tragic death of his friend and the capture of his former lover, he instantly transformed into Ghost Rider and engaged in a fierce battle with the witch heart demon. Unfortunately, the witch heart demon lacked a soul, rendering Johnny's Eye of Judgment completely ineffective. Even his hellfire was suppressed by the witch heart demon's extremely cold aura. Ultimately, his time as a Ghost Rider was too short, and he was no match for the witch heart demon, who had lived for countless years. In the end, Johnny could only watch helplessly as Roxanne was abducted by the witch heart demon. The witch heart demon's reason for abducting Roxanne was, of course, to control Johnny and force him to retrieve the contract of Saint Venganza. After much investigation, the witch heart demon not only knew that the contract of Saint Venganza was in the hands of the previous Ghost Rider, Carter Slay, but also knew the location of Saint Venganza. He would wait there for Johnny and bring him the contract of Saint Venganza. Only there could the contract of Saint Venganza be unlocked, freeing the 3,000 fallen saint souls sealed within it. However, unlike Johnny, Carter, though aging, still retained the strength for a final fight. The witch heart demon would not dare to provoke him unless absolutely necessary. Not to mention the witch heart demon, even his father, Mephistopheles, the Lord of Hell, wouldn't dare to provoke him. Sometime later, Johnny, barely recovered, eagerly rushed to the cemetery to demand the contract of Saint Venganza from Carter. Seeing the situation nearing its conclusion, Wang Yunxiao and Selena naturally couldn't miss it. They followed Johnny, secretly watching him receive the contract of Saint Venganza from Carter. Then, under Carter's escort, they arrived at Saint Venganza. "Come out, you've been with us all the way," Carter, perched atop a skeletal warhorse blazing with hellfire, suddenly said coldly, watching Johnny enter Saint Venganza. "Huh? Were you discovered? I'm curious, when did you discover us?" As he spoke, Wang Yunxiao slowly emerged from the shadows, leading Selena. "Who are you?" Carter asked, his brows furrowed slightly, as if he was suspicious that Wang Yunxiao and Selena weren't who he imagined. "It seems you've mistaken us for someone." Mephistopheles, Wang Yunxiao, seeing through Carter's thoughts, asked with a smile. "You're all in this together." Carter's frown deepened, his misunderstanding only deepening. Perhaps, Wang Yunxiao didn't bother to explain. With a slight sway, he shot out like an arrow, lunging straight at Carter. "Ignorance," Carter scoffed, without moving, simply pulling on the reins. Swish, the skeleton warhorse, in tune with Carter's thoughts, raised its front hooves high, blazing with hellfire, and stomped down at Wang Yunxiao. Unexpectedly, Wang Yunxiao was even quicker. Before the skeleton warhorse could even land its hooves, he had already rushed in front of it and launched a kick directly into the white skeleton beneath its belly. Bang! With a dull thud, the skeleton warhorse, along with Carter on its back, was sent flying. "I still underestimated the power of this hellfire," Wang Yunxiao frowned, silently staring at his right foot, entangled in the flames and charred to a crisp. With a thought, strands of spatial energy surged, enveloping his right foot and the hellfire engulfing it in a different dimension. The hellfire then slowly extinguished. Feeling his scorched foot rapidly recovering and regenerating, Wang Yunxiao's frown softened, and he turned his gaze back to Carter, who had already risen. "Since that's the case, let's end this quickly." Muttering softly, Wang Yunxiao shot out again like an arrow from a bow. Johnny was about to confront the witch heart demon, and he didn't have much time to waste on Carter. Clang, the sharp war god's blade slashed against Carter's pale skeleton, resonating like metal clashing, demonstrating the immense strength of his frame. The scorching flames of hell couldn't even damage the blade of the god of war. Wang Yunxiao wasn't surprised. His movements remained unwavering, each strike swifter and heavier than the last, leaving Carter no chance to counterattack. While Carter still had some strength left to fight, his body was too old to effectively counter Wang Yunxiao's swift and devastating onslaught. Ultimately, the only thing that frightened the witch heart demon and even Mephisto was his increasingly pure hellfire. However, as long as Wang Yunxiao avoided direct contact with the hellfire and avoided gazing into his eyes of judgment, he wouldn't have to worry too much. Thanks for the guaranteed monthly pass. 3 more chapters are up today. Please bookmark, recommend, and vote. Chapter 247: The Enraged Witch Demon. Clang, clang, clang. The sound of metal clashing continued as the blade of the god of war slashed against Carter Slayna's pale skeleton like a violent storm, leaving him powerless to fight back. Bang! Carter slammed to the ground, transformed back into his human form, his last remaining fighting strength exhausted. Thump, thump, thump. Wang Yunxiao approached Carter with steady steps, looking down at him from above. "Who are you?" Carter asked with difficulty, glaring at Wang Yunxiao, who was almost unafraid of the fires of hell. This also made him realize that Wang Yunxiao might not be in cahoots with Mephistopheles, the Lord of Hell. Hell! Wang Yunxiao grinned, but did not answer. He grabbed Carter by the collar and lifted him high. Then, as Carter stared in horror, he bit his carotid artery. Bang! Wang Yunxiao casually flung Carter's shrunken corpse into the other dimension. His brow furrowed slightly, a flicker of disappointment in his eyes. "What's wrong?" Selena softly approached Wang Yunxiao and asked softly. "He's just like an ordinary person now," Wang Yunxiao sighed softly. Perhaps the so-called Ghost Riders simply sold their souls in exchange for access to Hell's power, while remaining ordinary beings themselves. After some thought, Wang Yunxiao speculated further. If Wang Yunxiao's suspicions were true, then the powerful Ghost Rider couldn't provide him with any blood nutrients. He couldn't possibly be drained of blood from that pale skeleton, could he? "Then what should we do?" Selena asked. She knew Wang Yunxiao was worried about ascending to Zombie King, something Wang Yunxiao had never concealed from them. "Never mind. You can't force things like that. I just hope that Son of Hell won't let me down again." Wang Yunxiao sighed softly, his gaze darkly gazing towards Saint Venganza. Without further delay, Wang Yunxiao took Selena's hand, and the two of them vanished in an instant. Meanwhile, Ghost Rider Johnny Blaze had easily dispatched the water demon and confronted the true master, the witch demon, within Saint Venganza. Seeing the contract of Saint Venganza in Johnny's hand, the witch demon, beaming with pride, readily tossed his chip, Roxanne Simpson, aside. Now it was time to reap the fruits of his victory. The ensuing developments were just as the witch demon had anticipated. Initially, Johnny was able to leverage the contract of Saint Venganza to intimidate the witch demon, giving him a slight advantage. However, the gap between the two was not so easily overcome, and he was soon completely defeated by the witch demon. "Johnny, are you okay?" Roxanne quickly ran to the limp Johnny and lifted him into her arms. "Let's go. He's already got what he wanted," Roxanne said anxiously, watching the witch heart demon pick up the contract of Saint Venganza. "No. You go first. I'm sending him back to hell. I want this to end." Johnny struggled to his feet, still refusing to give up. "Why? Why did it have to be you?" Roxanne asked passionately. In that moment, like many women, she became deeply selfish, wanting only the safety of her lover. "It was destined when I signed that contract with the devil. I am the only one who can walk between the realms of earth and hell," the Ghost Rider, Johnny declared firmly. Neither his own sense of responsibility nor Carter's trust in him could he give up. However, as the sun slowly rose, Johnny could no longer maintain his Ghost Rider form. Like Roxanne, he could only helplessly watch as the witch heart demon slowly opened the contract of Saint Venganza. "This is the contract of Saint Venganza. All evil spirits, obey my call, come." At this moment, Wu Xinmo, after a hearty laugh, began chanting the spell to unseal the contract of Saint Venganza. Bang! With a dull thud, Wu Xinmo, completely focused on the contract of Saint Venganza, was caught off guard and kicked away. The unfolded contract of Saint Venganza fell into the man's hands. Summoning 3,000 fallen saint souls is not that easy. Do you really think Earth is deserted? Wang Yunxiao sneered disdainfully, slowly re-rolling the contract of Saint Venganza. Finally, at the last moment, Wang Yunxiao arrived and, at the critical moment, stopped Wu Xinmo from unsealing the contract of Saint Venganza. Damn it! Who are you? Wu Xinmo stopped himself, glaring at Wang Yunxiao angrily. His feet plowed deep furrows into the ground. Your enemy, Wang Yunxiao replied indifferently, casually sending the contract of Saint Venganza into his personal space. I will kill you. I will drain your soul, Wu Xinmo roared angrily, charging at Wang Yunxiao like a madman. In an instant, the air of Saint Venganza turned icy cold. Wang Yunxiao didn't dodge or evade, brandishing the blade of the god of war to meet the attack. He wanted to see how much stronger Wu Xinmo was than the Ghost Rider. Bang! With a dull thud, Wu Xinmo was sent flying backwards once again. In terms of pure strength, he was indeed far inferior to Wang Yunxiao. However, Wang Yunxiao wasn't feeling well either. The blade of the god of war, along with his entire right arm holding it, was frozen in a thick layer of frost, completely rendering him unconscious. Spatial energy surged, instantly enveloping Wang Yunxiao's right arm and the war god's blade, and the frozen frost slowly dissipated. However, even with his powerful healing and regenerative abilities, fully restoring his frozen right arm would take far too long. Furthermore, the Wu Heart Demon clearly wouldn't give Wang Yunxiao the chance. Though far inferior in strength, the war god's blade alone wouldn't inflict any real damage. He had already forcibly stopped himself and charged towards Wang Yunxiao. Wang Yunxiao, unwilling to be subjected to the Wu Heart Demon's extremely cold aura, retreated quickly, easily dodging the attack. The Wu Heart Demon, however, would not give up. With a flicker of his body, he was already catching up like a shadow. Despite his lack of strength, his speed was remarkable, even comparable to Wang Yunxiao's. For a moment, under the crazy offensive of Wu Xinmo, Wang Yunxiao was completely passive and had almost no chance to fight back. Please collect, recommend, and vote for me. Chapter 248, Fierce Battle with the Witch Heart Demon. Under the Wu Xinmo's frenzied attack, especially his extremely cold demonic energy, even through the war god's blade, Wang Yunxiao was still able to suffer frostbite, temporarily putting him in a completely passive position. Furthermore, judging by the Wu Xinmo's posture, he looked like a tireless fighting machine, his offensive showing no sign of relenting. More importantly, as time passed, wisps of cold demonic energy began to invade Wang Yunxiao's body within the area where the two were locked in combat. While this wouldn't be a problem in the short term, if the situation dragged on for too long, his combat effectiveness would inevitably be severely impacted, rendering his chances of victory even more uncertain. I really underestimated you. Wang Yunxiao abandoned the Wu Xinmo's struggle and, in a flash, quickly escaped his attack range, his expression shifting from gloomy to uncertain. However, he wasn't completely without a solution, at least he still had the trump card of special force. Naturally, Wang Yunxiao couldn't just leave like that. Not only was he unwilling to do so, but if he couldn't completely defeat the Wu Xinmo, it would inevitably cause him endless trouble in the future. You have to know, he's no longer alone. On the surface, he has the Umbrella Corporation and the Hellfire Club, two massive forces, at his disposal. Perhaps, oftentimes, such a powerful force could help Wang Yunxiao solve many problems and even provide him with a foothold in this world. But against a being like Wu Xinmo, not only would they hardly provide much help, they might even become his greatest burden. Damn it! Don't even think about escaping. Wu Xinmo gave Wang Yunxiao even a moment to think, quickly catching up. Wang Yunxiao's eyes flickered, and in a flash, a different dimension enveloped Wu Xinmo. Space power? Such a weak space power, ha. Wu Xinmo was momentarily startled, then burst into unbridled laughter, a sinister and cold demonic energy surging from his body. Crack, with a series of crisp sounds, a frost wall appeared around Wu Xinmo. His cold demonic energy had completely frozen the surrounding space, resulting in such a startling scene. Wang Yunxiao's frown deepened. He hadn't imagined the Wu Xinmo's icy demonic energy could be so potent, capable of freezing even his own alternate dimension. Of course, Wang Yunxiao knew this was simply due to his lack of special abilities. Even if the Supreme Sorcerer, Ancient One, had personally cast a special barrier, even if all the icy demonic energy within the Wu Xinmo had been exhausted, it would still be difficult to freeze it. Crack, the next moment, the frost barrier shattered completely, and the Wu Xinmo rushed out, his face horrified, his eyes flashing with murderous fury. Wang Yunxiao didn't dodge, but instead strode forward, War God Blade in hand. Unseen, his entire body, and even the War God Blade, was enveloped in a layer of incredibly dense special energy. Wang Yunxiao's years hadn't been in vain. His control over special abilities had already reached a profound level, and achieving this level was a common occurrence. Bang! With a dull thud, Wang Yunxiao chopped the Wu Xinmo once again, sending it flying. Wang Yunxiao's right arm and the War God's blade were both frozen in a thin layer of frost. Crack! Wang Yunxiao shook his right arm slightly, and the frost on it turned to dust and dissipated into the air. His figure had already vanished from the spot where he stood. When Wang Yunxiao reappeared, he was already close to the Wu Xinmo, and with another sharp blow, he struck the Wu Xinmo with all his might. Bang! The Wu Xinmo barely regained his balance when he was sent flying backwards like a cannonball. Wang Yunxiao once again shattered the frost, isolated from the special energy, and once again reached the Wu Xinmo. Thus, relying on the protection of the special energy, Wang Yunxiao successfully regained the initiative, slashing the Wu Xinmo back again and again. However, the creature was like an indestructible cockroach. Even Wang Yunxiao's best efforts could not inflict much real damage. On the other hand, Wang Yunxiao's subtle use of special energy was undoubtedly consuming a significant amount. If this continued, he would undoubtedly be the first to collapse. Roar! A glint of madness flashed in Wang Yunxiao's eyes. He roared to the heavens, and his zombie form materialized, razor-sharp zombie fangs and emerald green pupils. He naturally didn't expect to quickly defeat the witch heart demon with this alone. Instead, he made a mad decision. If this still didn't resolve the witch heart demon, Wang Yunxiao would simply take Selena and leave, mobilizing all his forces to see if he could completely eliminate the witch heart demon. Even if that proved impossible, Wang Yunxiao still had one last option: lure the witch heart demon to Xavier's skull for the gifted, or even Kamartaj. However, this would inevitably create a complete antagonism with the witch heart demon, leaving no room for reconciliation. As for who he would borrow the sword from, that would depend on the circumstances. Furthermore, neither scenario was what Wang Yunxiao wanted. Not only would it expose most of his hidden forces, but it would also likely only yield Wu Xinmo's corpse. Why did Wang Yunxiao get involved? Wasn't it to utilize Wu Xinmo's bloodline of the Lord of Hell to help him ascend to Zombie King? Even he wasn't sure if Wu Xinmo's blood would be effective, but he still had to give it a try. Otherwise, how could he accept this? So you're not human either. We're both beings of darkness, so why are you ruining my plans? The contract of Saint Venganza is of no use to you, Wu Xinmo demanded angrily. Though he was demanding, anyone could tell he was ready to call it quits. Clearly, the series of exchanges had left Wu Xinmo with a clear sense that continuing the fight wouldn't guarantee he would be the victor. While Wu Xinmo didn't fail to recognize Wang Yunxiao's true identity, the thick, unresolved resentment surrounding him made it clear he, too, belonged to the darkness. As a demon from hell, Wu Xinmo was naturally sensitive to resentment. You and I are not of the same kind, Wang Yunxiao curled his lips in disdain. He then, not wanting to waste any more time on him, flashed behind him again with his sword, striking with another sharp blow. Damn it! I will make your soul burn in the flames of hell forever, the Wu Xinmo roared in anger as he was slashed back again. Unfortunately, Wang Yunxiao paid no heed to Wu Xinmo's threats, striking with his God of War blade. Please bookmark, recommend, and vote. Chapter 249 Bloodline of the Lord of Hell. Hey, Wu Xinmo was slashed back once again, yet a defiant, sarcastic laugh escaped his lips. This became his weapon for counterattack. No matter how many times Wang Yunxiao's attacks struck him, they proved ineffective. Wang Yunxiao ignored the piercing laughter, pursuing him like a shadow. This time, Wang Yunxiao didn't strike again. He even retracted the blade of the God of War into his personal space. He pressed himself close to Wu Xinmo, his hands firmly clamped around him, rendering him powerless to resist. Roar! With a furious roar, Wang Yunxiao's sharp zombie fangs pierced Wu Xinmo's carotid artery. No! Don't! Wu Xinmo screamed in terror, feeling the blood draining rapidly from his body, accompanied by the dissipation of an inexplicable substance. Although he couldn't yet pinpoint the substance, he could clearly sense its importance to him. The shedding of blood might not kill him, but as this substance dissipated, he would surely be utterly annihilated. Indeed. What Wang Yunxiao had drawn from Wu Xinmo was the very blood of the Lord of Hell, in other words, the very source of his power. Get out of here, Wu Xinmo struggled desperately, but as his blood and essence rapidly drained away, his struggles grew increasingly feeble. Wang Yunxiao, on the other hand, his emerald green eyes flickered with excitement and delight. He could clearly sense that the blood of Mephistopheles, Lord of Hell, would be of immense benefit to his ascension to Zombie King. By draining Wu Xinmo's blood, he would have a strong chance of completing his ascension to Zombie King. Enough. Stop. At that moment, a commanding voice, unspoken in anger, filled the ears of the two. Following suit, an old figure suddenly appeared not far from them, bearing down on Wang Yunxiao with an immense pressure. HMPH, Wang Yunxiao groaned, feeling as if under this pressure, he was like a small boat on a raging sea, in imminent danger of destruction. But his emerald green pupils gleamed with madness and determination, and it was impossible for him to give up. Father, save me. Upon seeing the approaching figure, Wu Xinmo immediately let out a shrill cry for help. He had even forgotten that the purpose of his journey was to obtain the contract of Saint Venganza so that he could dethrone his father and ascend the throne of Hell himself. And it was Mephisto who had arrived. With the contract of Saint Venganza at stake, he couldn't place all his hopes on anyone else, not even Johnny Blaze, the Ghost Rider who had sold his soul to him. Countless generations of Ghost Riders had betrayed him before, like the previous Ghost Rider, Carter Slay. How could Mephisto rest assured without personally witnessing the contract of Saint Venganza? So, from the beginning, he had been hiding in a dark corner, watching the events unfold. However, as the Lord of Hell, he was able to blend completely into the darkness, making his presence difficult to detect even with Wang Yunxiao's keen senses. Now, seeing Wu Xinmo about to meet his tragic end at Wang Yunxiao's hands, Mephisto was compelled to step forward. Of course, his concern wasn't Wu Xinmo's life or death, but rather his desire to prevent the leakage of his own bloodline. If Wu Xinmo couldn't see it, how could he not see that Wang Yunxiao was absorbing the very bloodline power that belonged to Wu Xinmo? Young man, stop. You must know when to stop. Mephisto's tone, though calm, held an undeniable firmness. Young man? After several lifetimes, Wang Yunxiao was definitely not young. Well, in the eyes of Mephisto, who had existed for countless years, that was certainly nothing. Wang Yunxiao ignored Mephisto. Not only did he show no sign of stopping, but he actually increased his speed in absorbing Wu Xinmo's bloodline. How stubborn, Mephisto sighed softly, a flicker of anger in his eyes as he was about to intervene. Suddenly, his expression changed, and his figure suddenly melted into the darkness. Swish! Swish! Almost as soon as Mephisto merged into the darkness, two sharp, cold rays of light flashed from his former position. It's you who should stop, accompanied by a cold female voice. Selena flashed to Wang Yunxiao's side, each holding a gleaming Nepalese saber in her hands, observing her surroundings warily. These two Nepalese sabers were also forged from adamantium. HMPH, with a muffled sullen grunt, wisps of inky black demonic energy surged and gathered from Selena's side, like a fierce, savage dragon of hell, pouncing directly at her. Swish, 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 Selena swung her saber repeatedly, instantly dismembering the hellish dragon and shattering it into pieces. However, the shattered demonic energy didn't dissipate. Instead, it transformed into ferocious tentacles, continuing to claw at Selena and even Wang Yunxiao behind her. Roar! Selena roared to the sky, spreading her massive bat wings. With a single flap, she blew away all the demonic tentacles. Vampire? Damn it! Have you forgotten the ancient Dark Covenant? Mephisto reappeared, demanding angrily, but he showed no intention of attacking again. After all, this body was merely his avatar, lacking immense power. Otherwise, why would he care about the Dark Covenant? After all, demons are known for breaking oaths. Nonsense! Selena stared at Mephisto with a blazing gaze, completely dismissing his mention of the Dark Covenant. Besides, she wasn't from the Marvel Universe in the first place, so she had no idea what the Dark Covenant was. Even if she did, what good would that do? She was no longer a vampire, but a zombie. Vampire, for what you did today, I'll find Drake. Mephisto refused to give up, and threatened Selena with Drake's name. Drake was the progenitor of the Marvel Universe's vampire race. In his heyday, he was a true father figure, but now he was slumbering somewhere unknown. Selena sneered. Although she knew Drake was the progenitor of this world's vampire race, what did that have to do with her? Now, her only concern was protecting Wang Yunxiao until he had drained the blood of the witch heart demon. Today's 3 updates are up. Please bookmark, recommend, and vote. Chapter 250 Ancient One and Mephistopheles arrive. Roar, Wang Yunxiao roared freely to the heavens. The witch heart demon lay at his feet like a torn sack. Though not yet dead, it was breathing more out than in. Selena frowned slightly. Knowing Wang Yunxiao intimately, she easily detected a hint of pain in his roar, even if he hid it well. The roar ceased, and Wang Yunxiao's blood-red pupils fixed their cold gaze on Mephisto, the Lord of Hell, without a trace of emotion. Indeed. After completely draining the witch heart demon's blood, even the blood of the Lord of Hell within him, Wang Yunxiao had truly ascended to the status of zombie king. But, Mephisto, you've crossed the line. This is Earth, Wang Yunxiao spat out icy words, his murderous intent undisguised. Give me the contract of Saint Venganza. It does not belong to you, Mephisto spoke with equal sternness, his dark eyes meeting Wang Yunxiao's gaze without a shred of hesitation. Is that what you're talking about? Wang Yunxiao sneered disdainfully. The contract of Saint Venganza suddenly appeared in his hand. Give it to me. Mephisto's gaze was instantly captivated by the contract of Saint Venganza, unable to move away. Give it to you? And then have you open the gates of hell? Even if I'm okay with it, I'm afraid others wouldn't agree. Don't you agree, Ancient One? Wang Yunxiao's lips curled up slightly in a mocking arc, his gaze shifting to the side. You've become stronger, Mr. Wang. As Wang Yunxiao finished his words, the figure of the Supreme Sorcerer, Ancient One, silently appeared. The contract of Saint Venganza was of great importance. Not only was Mephisto constantly observing, but even the Guardian of Earth was keeping a close eye on this place. Now, with Wang Yunxiao threatening him with the contract of Saint Venganza, the Ancient One could no longer remain silent and had to confront him. It's been a long time, Ancient One. A strange glint flashed in Wang Yunxiao's eyes, but he remained silent, smiling and nodding to the Ancient One. Ancient One, Mephisto's presence jolted him slightly at the Ancient One's appearance, but he quickly regained his composure. As Mr. Wang said, Mephisto, you've crossed the line. Return to your hell, the Ancient One said in a deep voice, his expression becoming exceedingly stern. I haven't broken our original agreement, Mephisto snorted, his face darkening. He knew that with the Ancient One's appearance, his chances of obtaining the contract of Saint Venganza were virtually nil. But how could he accept that? And that wasn't Mephisto's greatest concern. If Wang Yunxiao handed the contract of Saint Venganza to the Ancient One, obtaining it would be even more difficult. But you shouldn't have set your sights on the contract of Saint Venganza, the Ancient One said sternly. It originally belonged to me, Mephisto roared angrily, no longer able to maintain his composure. The demonic energy surrounding him overflowed and surged. However, with this level of power alone, not only the Ancient One and Wang Yunxiao, but even Selena would not take him seriously. Watching the confrontation between the Ancient One and Mephisto, Wang Yunxiao wore a meaningful smile. As he had predicted, the situation unfolded. The Ancient One could detect the movements here, and he would never allow the contract of Saint Venganza to fall into Mephisto's hands. Mr. Wang, for the sake of Earth's safety, please hand over the contract of Saint Venganza to me for safekeeping. Then, the Ancient One turned his attention to Wang Yunxiao. While destroying this incarnation of Mephisto would be a simple task for the Ancient One, it was pointless. Mephisto could easily create another one at any time, and Wang Yunxiao had no way to truly stop Mephisto's incarnation from roaming the earth. If she could obtain the contract of Saint Venganza, she could deny Mephisto's only hope of opening the gates of hell. This was the main purpose of her appearance. No. Give it to me, and I'll give you everything you desire. Hearing Ancient One's words, Mephisto became anxious and quickly tempted Wang Yunxiao. I can trade you the blood of many powerful beings. You know, there's no shortage of powerful beings in hell. After all, Mephisto had been around for who knows how long, and his eyes were sharp. He had already seen Wang Yunxiao's thirst for the blood of powerful beings, which must be extremely important to him. I'm sorry, but I never make deals with demons. Wang Yunxiao shrugged dismissively, completely scorning Mephisto's offer. To say Wang Yunxiao wasn't tempted by Mephisto's offer was impossible. However, as he had said, as the most deceitful of the demons, he would never trust Mephisto, let alone trade with him. Isn't Ghost Rider Johnny Blaze, not to mention the past, the perfect example? Ancient One, I can give you the contract of Saint Venganza, but in exchange, I need you to do me a small favor. Wang Yunxiao then ignored the still ranting Mephisto and focused his full attention on the Ancient One. What is it? The Ancient One's gaze instantly grew wary. Don't worry, it's just a small matter, even a trivial one for you. With Mephisto present, Wang Yunxiao couldn't bring himself to mention the Tesseract, so he could only offer this vague reply. However, his tone was as sincere as possible. Furthermore, Wang Yunxiao couldn't immediately seek the Ancient One's help in extracting the Space Stone without damaging the Tesseract. He had to wait until he had acquired sufficient strength to rival the Ancient One. Okay. I promise. The Ancient One's expression shifted, but he finally gritted his teeth and agreed. In his opinion, Mephisto was still a greater threat than Wang Yunxiao, and a far greater threat to Earth. Deal. Wang Yunxiao smiled with satisfaction, and immediately threw the contract of Saint Venganza to the Ancient One. It belongs to me. With a roar of rage, Mephisto finally couldn't contain himself and recklessly pounced on the contract of Saint Venganza. He simply couldn't bear to see the contract of Saint Venganza fall into the Ancient One's hands. Go back to your hell. The Ancient One simply waved his robe, and Mephisto's form violently twisted. Ancient One, I will definitely return. The contract of Saint Venganza belongs to me. Wang Yunxiao, I will remember you, leaving behind the wail of a defeated dog. This incarnation of Mephisto was completely twisted into ash. A new month has begun. Considering the recent average subscription figures have been quite dismal, starting this month, I will do my best to maintain 4 updates. I hope new and old readers will continue to support this book. Please add it to your collection, recommend it, and vote for it. End of this chapter. Thank you so much for reading until the end. Don't forget to give it a like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription or donation encourages us to continue. Thank you all. See you in the next video.